Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Well, when it comes to major racing, there are circuits that are timeless as is time itself. And more to the point, there's also iRacing championships that are very, very competitive. And you couldn't think in January of one circuit among any other in the world than the famed World Centre of Racing. As we are set and ready to get things underway here in Florida at the Daytona International Speedway Road Course here in 2025. So welcome along to the GRC Racing channel, and also welcome along to Major Series action for the European region for round number 1. Of course, the Major Series runs only the most iconic and revered races in the world, from road courses to ovals, in many cars. And today, you're going to see GTP, LMP2, and GT3 action. Welcome along to the Global Sim Racing channel here. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and joining me will be Sebastian Holmichel, and we'll be under the watchful gaze and also the wonderful images you see on our screen, courtesy of Daniel Costello, and with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Of course, this circuit really needs no introduction, but if you need a little bit of a refresher, here it is, all in our GSRC track guide about the famed Florida circuit known as Daytona International Speedway.
Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. While many oval fans associate this Central Florida track with mainly NASCAR, the road course has gained just as much worldwide fame thanks to it hosting motorcycles and sports cars for decades. In fact, the flagship road race, the 24 Hours of Daytona, has become a major draw for drivers of all disciplines, many eager to have a go at endurance racing. The stats make this place sound relatively simple, with 12 corners on the regular road circuit and 14 on the NASCAR version, both spread amongst 3.5 miles. Indeed, a majority of the lap is spent on the oval portion, where you fly along the notoriously steep banking. But it's easy to underestimate the challenge presented to the drivers. The infield portion begins with the scary kink entry of turn 1. Not only is it the fastest part of the track, but the transition from the banking to the flat tends to upset the car as you slow it down. There's also the bus stop chicane on the backstretch. Added in the 80s, this is a tricky piece of circuit that punishes a poor exit severely, with it leading back into the latter half of the oval. As you'd expect, the long periods on throttle mean that drafting tends to play a factor in the racing. It also means passing isn't usually too great of an issue if you have the pace to catch someone. The more difficult thing is managing to gap your opponent so that they don't ride in your slipstream once you get by. With half a century of endurance racing collected among these walls, it's not unfair to say that road racers have just as much claim to call Daytona home. Fans who come to watch certainly won't be disappointed by the high speeds and fantastic thrills it invariably provides each year.
Well, with these amount of high banking, straight line speeds, a few technical sections, particularly in the first part of the lap, Sebastian, what can the drivers and also our audience expect?
An absolute classic of an endurance track. Daytona, here we come, 2.4 hours here tonight. Turn 1, of course, very, very careful to be advised. Also, of course, the infield, the horseshoes, and then going back onto the banking with cold tires, always dangerous on the first lap. Yeah, the Le Mans chicane, or bus stop chicane as we like to call it, that will be a decider, of course. No slowdowns have to be taken there to be successful here tonight in Florida.
So 3.56 miles, 12 turns, and folks, it's going to be an absolute corker. First round out of 7, we're going to be going for 2.4 hours. So GTP, LMP2, and GT3. Open setup, and thank goodness, some people will go, well, if we've had a prang with this one, we'll have an available car to do it. But of course, very, very soon, we are going to be racing for 2.4 hours. Of course, the major series have the Americas region as well. So, of course, maybe many people might be doing this event not just once, but maybe several times here on the iRacing service. And also, you have to see how this is going to go. But we are getting geared up for the 2x2 rolling start. We've got Ferrari, we've got Acura, we've got Cadillac, and we've got Porsche. 4 Titans in GTP. Then, of course, the Dallara LMP2. And then you look at the GT3 field. Porsche, Corvette, Mustang, Mercedes, Ferrari. Even a plucky BMW from Munich is in there as well. And that's the thing. GT3 variety is the spice of life. GTP is also now seeing a lot of drivers switch to the 499. So, row 1, it's got Nico Schiffer and Jesper Eriksson on the front row for GTP. Oscar Fredriksson and Daniel Holmer, row 2. Edvin Forslund and Francesca Sagetti will be on row 3 with Daniel Blomqvist and Radecki Gregors on row 4. Aldis Putelklis and Lasse Detters will be rounding out the top 10 in GTP. Then we turn the page to Luke Burtonshaw, Thomas Coombe, Giulio Postilico, Eric Smith and Sigurd Christopher Wamsler on 15th place. 15 GTPs. And then we have to look through at the LMP2 classification. Cameron Brown will lead from Richard Hartley with Bart Mattia and Garrett Batten on row number 2. Ryan Walker and Stephen Jones, row 3, with Martin Pearson and David H. Baker rounding out the top 4 rows. Completing the top 10 in LMP2 will be Edward Shelley and Ray Partridge. And we flip onto the next page for LMP2. It's going to be the likes of James Marsden, Travis Walling, James Marsden, Dominic Singledonk, Alex Smith, Tom Guest, and Yaroslav Roth, who will be rounding out the starting grid in LMP2. Quickly through GT3, we've got Trevor Vodovsky, Leon Seeley, Kevin Hill, Sergio Abalho, Bogdan Moldovan, Edgar Stau, Stefan Verveyen, Nicholas Schneider, Claude Belval, Kostas Kaloudis, David A. Wilson Jr., Sean Roberts, Wayne Hutchinson, Jakob Krafik, and Charlie Stottard. That's 46 cars as Schiffer and Ericsson are ready to get it underway. Ferrari versus Acura on the front row of the grid as pace car in the pits. We go green here for round 1 here at Daytona. And it's the run down into turn number 1 for the first time. 2 abreast as Ericsson goes round the outside of Schiffer into T1. Nice little exchange between the Swede and the German as they head into the infield section. One has gone off. That was Postilico and Francesco Stagetti as they go into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe for the first time. That's Postilico cutting the track as LMP2 gets underway. Here's Sebastian. Another bit of frantic activity.
Yeah, and that's where the danger lurks, here in the Horseshoe, from the crash cars, from the chicane, but no unsafe rejoin at this point. Very, very good driving here also in the back in the LMPs and GT3s. It works like a charm, no big one like in the international split we have seen. So these European drivers are really on for a treat here at Daytona.
As are we for the next 2 hours and 24 minutes as GT3 are already making their way through into the International Horseshoe. Vorovsky, Abayo, Verveyen rounding out the top 3 through the Le Mans chicane for the first time. Ericsson has a lead of just under 9/10 of a second. Then it's a further quarter of a second back to the driver that was on pole position Nico Schiffler in the Ferrari 499. I'm so happy to see that car join GTP on iRacing. Finally, we see the Cavallino Rampante bare its teeth and go galloping towards the opposition. Edward Shelley there, a little bit further back, as side by side, a little bit between Martin Pearson. And I think it was Hartley that might have been alongside there. Basilico's now making his way through the LMP2 traffic as they go flying through into T1. Of course, we've had a lot of information. Big thank you to our good friend, our good colleague Ryan Walker, talking about LMP2s, where we're probably looking at about in terms of the pit stops, we're looking anywhere between 21 to 22 laps, maybe 23 if some drivers are going to be fuel saving. That's a crucial thing here as well, Sebastian, that we see it with the Rolex 24 in real life, and that's coming up to happening very soon. That some drivers are going to fuel save.
Absolutely. I mean, with a little bit of fuel saves, you get the usual 28 laps, but you can extend it to 29. But the question, of course, is it worth it to do that? And we have Travis Walling out here in turn 6 or turn 7, I guess. And what we also have seen were slowdowns from the bus stop, which were carried until T1, and that was a loss of 2 or 3 positions there.
Yeah, we've got Radek Gregors going round the outside, heading into T1. Oscar Fredriksson has got the new fast lap. Gregors in the Ferrari running in the privateer-style AF Corsa colours that we normally see in the FIA World Endurance Championship. Having a good old fight for 5th position with the car in front. That is Latvia's Aldis Puteklis in the 666 Caddy, as they go firing their way through into turns 1, 2 and 3 now into the International Horseshoe. There's Sergio Abajo in the number 541 Mustang, closing in Vorovsky. And this is for, at this early stage, the GT3 class lead. One car might be serving a drive-through penalty. That was one of the GT3 Porsches. Well, we saw, I think that was Edgar Staupas from Lithuania in the 540. Here's Stephen Verveyen for the Evolve Imsports EH crew in the C8R. He's leading a bit of a GT3 train here going into the International Horseshoe. There's going to be an attempt for a move up the inside. I think that is Roberts going through on hill, and the move has been completed, but they've got the kink here going into T5, and that's the move made.
Yeah, beautifully done, but as you can see in the infield at Daytona, it's not a case of a one-turn overtake. You have to be very confident and prepare it for 2 or 3 corners to finally be ahead. And of course, being ahead doesn't mean too much with the draft here now again on the oval section.
Yeah, we're seeing speeds of over 200 plus miles an hour from the GTP cars. LMP2 not that far behind. We're probably looking at around about 320 plus kph, so 200. So you're probably looking at 210 by the GTPs in terms of miles an hour. Looking probably about 185 miles an hour when it comes to, and that's, I like the way that you finally got us through onto the slipstream question here at Daytona, especially on this 31-degree banking. As Vorovsky and Abayo are still battling away. That gap is coming down at a big rate of knots as they're down, I think that's the backstretch heading into Le Mans. And Moldovan and Verveyen are going to go nearly side by side. This is actually out of the final corner, and they are battling once again for 3rd place. Schiffer going wheel to wheel, side by side, dives up the inside of Fredriksson through the Le Mans chicane. That was a brilliant move by the German.
Yeah, not only that, but I think he also gave the other guy a slowdown, and that's a sealed overtake with that.
Well, I think that, you know, when you're doing that at the best part of over 180 miles an hour and you throw it into the Le Mans chicane, the big thing was they gave each other room, and but this is allowing Jesper Eriksson in the 37 Acura to pull away, and it's now got a gap of 2.3 seconds. So you said about the fact it was going to be crazy for this first first hour. We're only 6.5 minutes in here, Sebastian. We're going to see very quickly that the GTPs will be intermixed with GT3s very, very shortly. And then all I can say is throw the Hollywood script out of the window.
Yeah, that's right. And also we're not separated too much. We are driving in lines of cars. We are driving even in clouds of cars where the traffic has to navigate through, but it's more like, yeah, a thunderstorm then with the lightning quick GTPs cutting through the GT3 traffic. And also the LMP2s have some problem because, yeah, as iRacing slowed them down a little bit, they even have problems sometimes to get around the GT3s in the infield.
Yeah, we've now got on our screens going through the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, the battle between Bart Mattia and Cameron Brown as they go into the next left, into 5 and 6, and then they're going to go onto the banking. So 31 degrees of banking, the steepest part of the circuit, but we have seen it before, and I've seen it before on broadcasts that I've been a part of. I've seen it when GTP, LMP2 and GT3 have been 3 wide. We go back to the battle between 4th, 5th and 6th. That's going to be Gregors, Forsland and Puteklis battling away. They've got Luke Burtonshaw in the 599 Ferrari and Daniel Holmer in the 79 Acura. So we ride on board with the driver from SimRacing Sweden Esports. And what a great on board we have here on the Acura run by this crew. And Holmer's got a very, very nice bit of motivation in front of him, as in 4 other GTP cars.
Yeah, and he sees what a little bit of tussle can bring him with the back of the GT3 cars. And now it's the praying time, running down here through the banking into the bus stop area. Where will the GT3s be? Will they cut you off, or will you take an advantage?
Yeah, that's the key point here. And it's also, there's that unwritten rule that the faster traffic needs to make it safely through, but also the GT3s and the LMP2s have to be on their best behaviour and keep out of harm's way, particularly as what we're seeing here. We're seeing the line of GTP cars go round the outside of the GT3s at the banking onto the front stretch heading into the tri-oval here. One of the neat characteristics of the Daytona International Speedway. This could be very, very hairy, and yeah, you were very right there, Seb. Indeed, because we've got side-by-side action between GTP cars ferrying their way through as one goes off. Oh no, and we've had a big one on the infield. 2 GTPs, I think 3 GT, yeah, Burtonshaw, Puteklis around. And then you look at some of the others, Kaludis, Schneider, Hutchinson in GT3s. Well, you did mention about the big one. We've had a medium-sized one going through turns 2 and 3, and it was about the fact that something was going to give. Burtonshaw and Kaludis in GT3 are now in pit lane.
Yeah, I wonder what the race director is deciding, if that's enough for him for a safety car. And it doesn't seem to be that way. Or he waits a little until the field has settled again. But in the end, of course, there was some clipping here in this very tight chicane part, and one went over the grass, I think. So, yeah. And also with the international field, netcode is always a thing, of course.
Oh, our good friend Mr. Netcode always likes to make an appearance when you least expect it. And who knows whether that might have been the case there, folks. But the battles continue to rage on. We now move down into LMP2 territory. There's Edward Shelley running in the number 34. We'll have a look at the replay here. So Burtonshaw, let's just see what happens to him. Oh, it's the 2 GTPs, and then it just all goes to pot. My goodness, that just goes to show how quickly things can turn on a dime. And it was the 2 GTP cars that came together, and it all went horribly wrong. And then just GT3s got caught out as unwilling participants in the crossfire.
And they nearly got it. He went on the grass by the hip check, let's call it that way. And he nearly got it, but then he rammed his opponent, and the GT3s. What can they do? Nothing. It's a miracle they can stop the car on the grass and not run in anyone else in the horseshoe then.
Pace car is now being called safety car out for the first time, and it's within the first 15 minutes. Of course, we don't have a graphic, so we will be informed by our good colleague Christian Deploy, who's heading things up, along with Daniel Costello for this coverage this afternoon. So we have a nice bit of calm after all what was a lot of madness, to be completely truthful. Yaroslav Roth, I've just seen. So this is going to be the opportunity that drivers and teams might change their strategy. We talked about LMP2 coming in 21, 22 laps. We're on lap number 8 at the minute, and now this is going to bunch things up again. This is where it really, really tests all our drivers here at the majors, especially when it comes to Daytona. And when you see GTP, GT3, LMP2 intermix, it's a bit like a sports car racing goulash, if you will, Sebastian.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's all what we want. We want these endurance races, of course, with a mixed field. I'm still sad the GTEs aren't there anymore, but we have the big GT3 field with many enthusiasts in that class, so that is some compensation. And of course, there are certain rules here at the majors, and I hope we have a good restart pretty soon.
Yeah, well, Jesper Eriksson, that looks to be the, I think that's the SimRacing Sweden colours on that car. So, at the moment, things could be getting underway very, very shortly. When we do go green, we will be back under full speed. But a replay here, this is Niklas Schneider, the 628, and, he was one of the ones that got caught up. He had a Mercedes-AMG GT3 to his immediate left-hand side, which spun around and took him off the circuit. But it's all about that. Now we see the mind games, because we got Eriksson going to the high bit of the banking. Now,
Could be that's the wave-by process.
Possibly the case, so there normally will be, as we will see at the start of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which always goes to the Rolex 24 here at this track. But it is a case that if there are wave rounds, then they'll give the GT3s enough time to accelerate. They'll then go at full speed to get around the circuit to get themselves into position. But that's Bogdan Moldovan in the number 96. Wonderful liveries we see again, as always, here on iRacing. Currently running P2 behind Abajo, with Hill rounding out the top 3. So GTP, it's Eriksson, Schiffler and Fredriksson. LMP2, it's Matthias Brown and Pearson. And one of the good things about the timing that we see, what you see, folks, on the left-hand side of your screens, that all the gaps are closing up, which means once we go racing, cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war.
Yeah, right. That's the great part. I mean, of course, we don't have that in officials, but we have it here at the majors. Safety cars and live stewarding and everything else. So that's always a huge part, I think, a huge advantage against officials.
Yeah, so we are just coming up, we've just gone under 2 hours and 10 minutes remaining on the timer here for round 1 out of 7 for the major series for the European region. And again, it's just going to be a case of just waiting and seeing what happens. Also, right, yeah, there we go. The wave rounds have started. I thought as soon as you went, I thought, right, okay, when are we having the wave rounds? They've started.
I'm just wondering why is the LMP2 now? But they know what they do there in race control. They have a race director, they have 2 stewards there, so they know what to do. And also, the majors are running 2 splits for this Euro race. Also did 2 splits for the international one several hours ago. And in some more hours, we will have another with the American guys going onto the track.
There's Kostas Kaloudis. Now this is a replay, so I think that was the Ferrari. I can't remember which one that was that started the. Well, it was the Ferrari going into the side of the caddy, and yeah, Kaludis
the one GT3 flying into the horseshoe.
was probably the BMW, I think.
Or yeah. And he even jumped over the curb, but hit nobody, it seems, like a bowling ball.
So the 628 of BMW GT3, BMW M4 GT3 of Niklas Schneider did the Dukes of Hazzard at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. So there might be a few American cultural film references in this, but more to the point, it is a case that you can see now that the GTPs are starting to group together. So Ericsson's going to have is going to be the one that's going to, as soon as that pace car rolls into pit road, Ericsson will have Schiffer, Fredriksson, Gregors, Fosland. So that's going to be 3 Acuras, 2 Ferraris lining up. And the biggest thing that Ericsson has got to be very, very wary of, who's going to be the first instigator of firing it up the inside at a rapid rate of speed when we go green. And I wouldn't be at all surprised as that when the pace car peels away, gives Ericsson the opportunity to get into the distance. Who's going to be the biggest antagonist? Now, the Ferrari of Schiffer did have an issue because Ericsson threw it around the outside at turn 1 on the opening lap, and that was actually quite a brazen move. You don't normally see that, but Ericsson went, I'm going to do it. Daniel Holmer, I did see, was showing as if he was going into pit lane, but we're going to have a little bit of an extended pace car period here. So, yeah, Mr. Jay Lottridge saying in the chat in the Global Sim Racing channel, they'll still have waybuys and then grouping, so be about 3 laps, so we could be a couple of laps away from a green flag restart. This is what I love about endurance racing, multi-class endurance racing, Sebastian, that we don't know how the dices are going to be the dices are going to be rolled once we go green again, because you always have that unpredictability of restarts, but then of course yellows breed yellows, let's say.
Yeah, of course. We saw that in the past over and over again. And yeah, it can happen in T1 again. I mean, we are not we are single file now. That's an advantage, unlike the race start. But in the end, it can happen. And when it happens, like in the GTP field, the LMP2s may be running into that accident zones. And of course, another thing is that all the hard work being done with lapping the slower classes is now undone again, and they are in the right order again.
Yeah, so lap times in the early stages of this race at 1.5 minutes by the GTPs. Hello from the States to Big Roost in the YouTube chat. Please, if you are watching, if you can, share it, like it, subscribe if you can, and also give us your thoughts on who you want to win the first round out of 7 here at the Daytona International Speedway road course. You can see now starting to weave. We are getting ready for the restart. Of course, this is where things are going to matter through the Le Mans chicane. This is going to be a tough one to call on who's going to be on the pace straight away, but it's going to be down to Jesper Eriksson. I think very shortly we're going to be going green, and I cannot wait. So
we are now in mind game territory.
Oh yeah, yes, indeed we are, Sebastian. So when is Jesper Eriksson gonna pull the trigger and bury the hammer? Now we go through into the front stretch here at the Tri-Oval. Let's see. He's keeping them guessing, keeping them waiting, and once they get the green light, when we go green, we'll be back underway here at Daytona. So it's all just about waiting and biding your time. Ericsson's going to have to fight very quickly. As we're back underway, we accelerate. Ericsson already gets the jump on Nico Schiffer in the Ferrari. Fredriksson trying to look to the outside, maybe to enforce the cutback through into T1. Now back under full course green flag racing conditions here at round 1 out of 7 for the majors. LMP2 now underway. Oh, Ericsson's dumped it. Fredriksson's done exactly the same. Hard brakes, cold tyres, and both of them tumble. Ericsson down to 3rd. And Fredriksson has dumped himself accidentally into the front bit of the LMP2 class. Disaster for the two Swedes.
Oh, no more disaster in the second horseshoe.
Cameron Brown's just that was 2nd place in the LMP2 class, so whoopsie.
Still on the way.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy. Cold tyres, cold brakes. And Ericsson now dumps to 3rd, which means it's a Cavallino Rampante, a prancing horse. 1 and 2 for Schiffer versus Gregors. And, well, the two Ferraris, 0.6 of a second apart, but it was just one of those things. Cold tyres, cold brakes, the temperatures have dropped, and all of a sudden, round she goes.
Yeah, that's also a factor. I mean, the sun is going down. It's getting colder and colder. Maybe, of course, some unexpected cold tires and brakes for this big braking zone. I mean, the restart was perfectly executed with the late start at the start-finish line, so no chance to take some draft there for the cars behind. And now it's Schiffer in the lead.
So let's have a look at the replay here. This is Fredriksson. Oh,
Ooh,
dear. Net Cody, yeah, I think, and that's one of the other sim. That's another one of the SimRace Sweden esports cars. But yeah, as I said, unpredictability of restarts, and that just goes to show. But I'm seeing a lot of activity with a lot of GTP cars now in pit road, with 11 laps completed, which includes Ericsson, Fredriksson, Holmer, Forsland, Sergetti, Blomqvist, Burtonshaw. Some pit stops being done in about 20 or so seconds. Fredriksson is still up on the jacks. So, yeah, pit stops anywhere between 18 to 23 seconds here in the GTP class, Seb.
Yeah, and let's think about it. I mean, how many stops do they have really to make if they can go 28 laps or something like that, and maybe started a little bit low on fuel for the race start to have a good stint planning?
So here's a replay involving Richard Hartley, 14th. Oh, hits the car in front, and well, that's a bit of a mess. Yeah, that car definitely is not going to have anything buffing out, and looks like we're slowing down again. Looks like safety cars breach safety cars. So, well, you know what? It's safety cars are like buses. You have one, and then you think, oh yeah, we won't have any safety cars. You wait for one happens, and then another one comes along at the same time. So, race direction deciding to go, well, yeah, it's gotten a bit messy on that restart. Let's reset the ledger and start again, shall we?
Yeah, on the one hand, we will have not so many wave buys, and on the other hand, there are now 2 safety cars. I really don't hope they get kits.
Yes, exactly. But you can just see it once again. It's more a case of just resetting, saying to everybody, calm down, settle. We want to have a good race. We want to have a clean race. And that just goes to show how these drivers, everyone's been working hard towards this effort. Of course, we've got the iRacing special events with the iRacing Daytona 24 Hours coming up very soon. Hans Murphy saying, shout out for Garen in LMP2. Best of luck, mate. That's what we want to see. So if you are watching here live on the Global Sim Racing channel, please let us know who you're going to be, and there he is, Garen Batten in the number 14 car. And lovely once again just to seeing the liveries here in this class. So Garen's got some moves to make up the LMP2 class. Of course, the Dallara has been used for so many years here on the iRacing service. A great car. I've spoken with multiple drivers in multiple different championships that use the Dallara LMP2 car, and they go, well, yeah, whenever we get an update, there's always that nice little bit of a challenge, even though it can be a bit annoying at times, of having to rework the setup for, you know, especially if it's an endurance race, that you have to, you know, you have to sort of get on with things. And Mr. Jay Lottridge says again, if there's 2 safety cars within 30 minutes, there's a maximum of 3. There's only 3 allowed for the race, and there can't be another one for the next hour. So, but now it's the turn of Nico Schiffer.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. And it's good that somebody is holding their thumbs for Garen after, I think he started from P4 or P5, something like that. Maybe even P3. But in the end, now he has to recover from that. And on the one hand, bad luck. On the other hand, great luck for Nico Schiffer that he's now in the lead after the, stuff going on in the horseshoe.
Yeah, so, looks like the GT3s are staying out. So they're grouping everything. It looks like they're grouping everything back together again. So, couple of GTPs, so that will be Jesper Eriksson in the Sim Race Sweden Esports Pro number 37 Acura. So it looks like they're just trying to get everyone grouped together. So GTPs together, LMP2s together, GT3s together.
If that's the case, big brain moves for pitting.
Yes, because once you get a... brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Jay Lottridge. Garen won the International Region race last night and won it. So, there we go. Just goes to show that if you can come back from something like this. We've got 1 hour and 56.5 minutes of the 2.4 hours of this first round out of 7. So, yeah, more races still to come. Of course, more races that we'll talk to you about at the end of the broadcast on what's coming up here on the Global Sim Racing channel. But Nico Schiffer now finds himself in the position that Jesper Eriksson did after the first safety car period. And now we are getting ready to go green because everyone is weaving from side to side. Air temperature just under 22.8 degrees. Track temperature 22.4. As you can see, some clouds overhead. But more to the point, well, Eric Smith in the number 556 Ferrari, and it's a top 4 for the Ferrari brand, with Uldis Puteklis, the only caddy, in 5th. And of course, we've got Sigurd Christopher Vamsler in the 608 all the way down in 13th. But it looks like we are getting ready. They're in the banking. And once we get the green flag, courtesy of good old Barney, the flag marshal, on the start, finish straight through the tri-oval. When we see that green flag fly, expect the unexpected. We've already had 1 safety car we've had 2 safety car periods within the first half an hour of the race, and we're just about to, on green flag, hit the half-hour mark here at Daytona. So let's get ourselves ready for the restart here at Daytona, and here we go. We're back underway. Schiffer puts the hammer down. Gregors follows him as Eriksson goes up the inside of Puteklis, going in to the opening corner, but Eric Smith drops it. Eric Smith drops it from 3rd.
Yeah, he tried to do the esports line, but it didn't work out. There wasn't so much... there was too less rubber on the outside.
Yeah, and now the LMP2s, you can see all the rubber pickup. Sagetti was off amongst so many other people. Very shortly we'll be getting underway. That's the Porsche. Vamsler in the Porsche, the 608 in GTP, stuck on the inside of the International Horseshoe. Big battle happening here, around about 9th place in the GT3. That's Sean Roberts in the 698 Mercedes. And that is Charlie Stothard in front. And that was a dive bomb and a half there. Dive bomb and a half there on Roberts. And that was Vorovsky, who was leading the GT3 class up until the second safety car when GT3 started to pit. So Vorovsky, even in that kind of powertrain layout that we see, the good old Porsche 991 or the 992 GT3s that we see here, of course, rear engine, rear wheel drive, and then you see the remainder of the fields. Well, mid-engine, rear wheel drive for the Corvette C8R, as Bogdan Moldovan closing in on Sergio Abajo from Spain in the 541 Mustang, and they are making their way through into the high side of the banking, 31 degrees of angle, coming into the dry oval, having made their way through the Le Mans chicane. But at the moment, it is a 1-2, kind of a replay in picture. There's Puteklis in the number 666 Caddy, and I think that was Lacideters in the 582 Ferrari. Puteklis drops it as well. That was coming through turns 5 and 6.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner on the cold tires in the GTPs, and I wonder if some of the hybrid system was set to a mode which he didn't think about. Could be. So me personally, I like to drive the first lap after the out lap on building, so it's not so aggressive on the tires, especially here in this corner. And also, if you go the lowest part onto the banking, the car jumps a little, and then sometimes it spins you.
Yeah, and then also with regards to the refresh of the circuit, of course, going into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, there's a lot of rubber pickup on the outside, but Gregor's closing in on Schiffer for the race lead. And this is on lap number 16 as they cross the stripe. Gregor's to the outside in the 548 on Schiffer. Schiffer holds the tight inside line. Great little battle between the two Ferraris as they head through into turns 2 and 3. Jesper Eriksson has managed to scythe his way back up to third place and is only 1.1 seconds as they go through the International Horseshoe. And it's going to be the kink next up here at turn 5. But there you see Cameron Brown running in P3, the number 42 independent Dallara battling away with Edward Shelley. That's a battle for third and fourth. They've got Stefan Jones from the UK in front, Bart Mattia leading the way at the number 5. But a great battle here in the top 4.
That's great that they stick so close together. A little bit hard defending there. It could have been, yeah, like a punt on the rear if he brakes a little bit too late. But that's always the case. If you want to keep your position and block it, there's always, of course, the possibility the guy behind makes a mistake by your defending. But it worked out, and everyone is having a good race up to now, which are still on the track. It's not everyone who is still racing.
Look at this for a 3-kart squabble for the lead in GT3. Mustang versus Mercedes versus Corvette. Sergio Abajo versus Bogdan Moldovan, and Kevin Hill in the 523 Chevy C8R is closing in as they go through into turns 5 and 6 and then onto the backstretch, heading into this high banking. And you can just see they sweep the cars round towards as high as they dare towards the outside barrier and then drop the cars down. And this is where the slipstreaming and also the side draft. That's another thing about the slipstreaming here at Daytona. The side draft is just as equally powerful if you tee up the momentum right as they go into the Le Mans chicane. Moldovan closing in on Abayo, and then Hill right there waiting to pounce. Verveyen is about 2.4 seconds away from this top 3 battle in GT3. But the 96 Mercedes closes in on the 541 Mustang, but Abayo seems to have a little bit more poke, but it's 6.3 V8 naturally aspirated versus 5.4 naturally aspirated V8. They are literally line astern. 0.08 of a second is the lead gap between the top 2 in GT3, and boy oh boy, we've got battles up and down the order on our hands here at Daytona.
And Bogdan did push him. He didn't want to battle the leader. He wants to push him, stay in the draft, save some fuel, but not let P3, Kevin Hill, be in the mix.
And we ride on board with the 523 from the USA in a car that really has made its impact in GT3 racing across the world. Nico Schiffer, in the meantime, has just put in the fastest overall lap of the race and has golden sub 130, 129. 9.52. Battle between him and Radecki Gregors in the number 5 for 8.2 of a second. Giulio Posilico from Italy in the 580 Acura gets past SimRace Sweden's Oscar Fredriksson through the international horseshoe, but Fredriksson is going to bring his Scandinavian bravery with him. He tries to go around the outside of the kink and into the next part of the circuit, but still is denied by the Italian. Stern defend there from Posilico, and that is always a great thing to watch at this high-paced, high-intensity, high-octane GTP category.
Yeah, right. It's like flying jets over the circuit. And yeah, so tight, so close racing. Of course, the outside line in the kink wasn't the place to be for an overtake, but he knows that, and he will take his chances. So maybe does Bart Mattia then.
So Bart Mattia in second place, and that was, I think, well, that was the 42 of Cameron Brown, nearly getting into the back end of him, going into the double left, heading back onto the backstretch here at Daytona. But Mattia, I think, using the same tactic that we're seeing between Moldovan and Abajo, so saving sipping a little bit of fuel in comparison. Luke Burtonshaw, in the meantime, trying to go round the outside of Jesper Eriksson through into T1, and Burtonshaw manages to carry the speed through. Goes a little bit wide, and now he's trying to sell the old Nigel Mansell dummy to Jesper Eriksson, but Eriksson is not taking any of it.
No, not at all. But he knows that he's there. He knows how big his car is in his mirrors, and there we have more traffic coming up.
Oh, yeah. Radecki Gregors and Nico Schiffer making their way through the GT3 traffic as they head out of turn 6. Now onto the banking. So the GTPs, where they're in their significant higher rate of speed, will go to the outside. And this is where things can get a little bit treacherous. And then you see... Stern declaration from Sebastian Holmichel there, folks. Oh my God, yes, that's the first thing that not only the drivers are thinking, but us in the commentary box, as Radecki Gregors gets round the outside of one of the Porsches coming through out of the Le Mans chicane. And that just goes to show how close it's going to be. But when these drivers start getting a little bit tired, that's when things can... Well, it's actually Daniel Blomqvist that is battling away with Luke Burtonshaw there. So it's the 561 Acura versus the 599 Ferrari, and Burtonshaw is putting it round the outside through at the tri-oval. Will he carry the momentum through with the side draft? He is ahead at the minute. It's then going to be the run down into T1, 3 wide round the outside. Burtonshaw puts on a absolute clinical Slim Shady there around the GT3 Mercedes whilst battling away for position. Oh, but a hip check for the Race Anywhere GT3 Mercedes. A little bit of a hip check there from Daniel Blomqvist.
Yeah, he won't like that and maybe even report that to the racing stewards. But in the end, the T1 move is gold. That's why I'm here. We are here, we are watching, and we are commentating. And hopefully you also have fun in the stream.
So, an hour and 3/4 left to go in the first race out of 7. Burtonshaw trying to go after Blomqvist, but Oscar Fredriksson is now starting to close in the number 12 Acura, another one of the SimRace Sweden entries. They are making absolute mincemeat. So some go to the inside, some go to the outside. We saw Fredriksson using the inner line of the banking on the run down, but there is a car that has just lost it and has just hit the barriers. That was Steven Verveyen in the 73.
I think he got tapped on the rear.
Oh, and I think that car is broken. Yeah, that's crabbing. He was trying to steer it right. It wanted to go left. That's just how finite the distance is between the drivers. And now, well, Burtonshaw again trying to go on the offensive on Blomqvist. Tries to do the up and under. Couldn't get the job done. But still, that's now going to bring Fredriksson into the mix on this one as well. So it's the 561 of Sweden's Daniel Blomqvist versus the UK's Luke Burtonshaw, and then Sweden's Oscar Fredriksson. So Luke Burtonshaw is the independent meat on the SimRace Sweden sandwich at the minute, going into the horseshoe.
And in the chat there are also the SimRace Sweden hooligans already lining up for cheering and wanting their drivers to be in front. Ah, there's the tabby.
Yeah, so that was one of the Porsches that went into the back of Steven Verveyen. Didn't really quite catch the number, but Verveyen was running pretty strong in the 296 GT3, running as high as second or third place, and that has cost him big time. He's been in the pit, so damage has been sustained for the Canadian driver, and he's been in the pit road for over 75 seconds. But this battle here for 4th, 5th and 6th in GTP is not showing any signs of abating. The intensity still very, very high. And then you look at the gap between Blomqvist to Fredriksson, you're talking half a second, if that. And now Burtonshaw gets the draft. Again, he goes to the outside on Blomqvist into T1 as the sun's starting to set here in Florida. And more to the point, well, he tried. I think he's got to look at his playbook, rip up the current one, and enact plan B against Daniel Blomqvist. But he's between a bit of a rock and a hard place here, Seb, because he's got to be, he's got to be on full attack or full defence. And they do say the best form of defence is a strong offence, but in sports car racing, that doesn't necessarily mean the case, as Fredriksson up the inside, through on Blomqvist. Will he get through? No, Blomqvist might have the inside line for the next double left-hander. They scrape paint, and Burtonshaw keeps the advantage. Nice defence there from the 599 from the UK.
Yeah, but of course that's some loss of time in that position. And the question is he really that faster that he needs to be ahead to catch up with the podium guys?
Yeah, that's the truth. I think it's sometimes your strategy, if the car is not performing as you'd like it to be, or there's a little bit of a struggle, each of these teams will have a contingency plan. So you'll have the engineer talking to the driver and saying, okay, what's the car doing? How is it feeling? Well, that is not what you want to be doing here. Burtonshaw, it nearly made it 3 wide there. Gregor's just got into the pits here on lap 22, and Burtonshaw has now gone round the outside. I'm not too sure. It might have been that Blomqvist might have just let him through, as if to say, okay, he's been on my case. But no, they're going side by side through T1, and Blomqvist, I think, played a little bit of a dummy card there on Luke Burtonshaw, keeping the Brit guessing where he needs to be. And there's probably some conversations happening between the respective teams, the respective driver lineups at SimRace Sweden. Shout out to my good friend Dan Pepples, who's part of that crew. Currently, don't think he's racing at the minute. He's currently enjoying a weekend with his other half in Bavaria. But I'm sure, Mr. Pepples, you might be watching, good friend. So greetings. But we ride on board with Fredriksson through this double left-hander back onto the banking again. Again, it's just great to see this viewpoint here, Seb, because you really get an understanding of how hard these drivers are pushing. And he's literally just gone up to 7th gear. We're pushing north of 190, 200 miles an hour, and then it's going to be the braking zone, and then you're going to drop it through a few gears. He was bouncing off the rev limiter, inadvertently opens up the wipers. Your 5th gear, 150, and now Fredriksson to the outside. 160 miles an hour and climbing whilst getting the side draft in the banking at over 180 miles an hour. They are nearly wheel to wheel, side by side into the tri-oval. Fredriksson trying to weave on the back of Burtonshaw, and Blomqvist, well, he's got to be careful. Burtonshaw to the outside. Fredriksson, where's he going to place the car at nearly 200 miles an hour? Well, he holds station, looks to the inside. Burtonshaw could open the door here for Fredriksson. And does Fredriksson get through? He might, and he does.
It's not over. It's not over. Another dive to the inside, and yeah, the people on the big wheel have the best places here to watch that, as we do. Yeah, great stuff by those, and yeah, basically it's a 2-on-1 handicap match right now.
It sounds, yeah. Well, I mean, our good friend Jake Sperry would say, well, that sounds like a handicap championship, handicap match for the world for the World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, Jake and Joe on commentary duties on another one of our broadcasts happening at the moment. But yeah, it is like a 2-on-1 handicap match, and you've got a steel cage to deal with, and that's what Burtonshaw is having to deal with at the moment. So Fredriksson has got through, but Burtonshaw pulls alongside at over 190 miles an hour. Now gets ahead. Fredriksson slots in behind, going into the Le Mans chicane at over 130 miles an hour. I think there might have been a slight scrape there between the front and the rear. And now they start to accelerate. Fredriksson's got to do something special here to get through on Burtonshaw to retake what is now fourth place.
Yeah, right. And I think Bart is in the lead right now in his class in the LMP2s. So battles all over the place, all over the racetrack while the sun is coming down on Daytona. Yeah, that's just great. And I really, really enjoy being here with you guys. But of course, later on, there's another race coming up with the American race at Daytona. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to stewarding then again. It's a great weekend, and yeah, it's the weeks of Daytona, so to say.
Well, yeah, so for you drivers in the Americas region, watch out for Sebastian Holmichel, because he will rule with an iron hand, I can guarantee you that much.
Like the Eye of Sauron.
Yes, there we go. We've got a Lord of the Rings reference there, folks. There you go. But this is the beauty of sports car racing. But Nico Schiffer has got a commanding lead of the best part of nearly 6 seconds. We go to the battle for the lead in LMP2. Stefan Jones versus Bart Mattia for the race lead. And you can see now that Mattia having to go defensive. Stefan Jones just applying that pressure, but keeping within striking distance. And now we've got, that's our lone BMW, Nicholas Schneider in the 628, trying to keep out of the way. Then the 56 of Claude Belval, the Canadian, in the 56 Mustang. We'll have the likes of Kostas Kaloudis, Trevor Vorovsky, Kevin Hill, and Bogdan Moldovan, who are currently up at the sharper end. And there is Kaloudis. Stefan Jones was sneakily looking for an opportunity to get through. And Kaloudis is going to keep out of the way, stays wide, but does not allow the likes of, well, I mean, he's got a bit of a gap between himself and Hutchinson at the minute. But Stefan Jones still trying to keep the pressure on Bart Mattia, as we are nearly at, well, we're 6 minutes away from an hour and a half to go. 90 minutes, or 95 minutes still remaining here in the Major Series European region, round 1 here at Daytona. And then we see one of the Acura GTP cars. I think that's Italy's Francesco Saggetti in the 579, who's about a minute and a half behind Cameron Brown. So the LMP2 classes have been displaced somewhat.
Displaced? What do you mean?
Sorry, what I mean by that, there's a big gap. But Stefan Jones peels into pit lane on lap 25. So the battle for the race lead now ends up being taken away from us. It always happens, doesn't it, Seb, where we have this really, really great battle, and they're battling tooth and nail, and then there's always one driver that blinks first and goes, you know what, we need to go into pit lane now, we're running low on fuel. So if you can save maybe 2 or 3 laps worth of fuel, that's going to mean you're going to have less to deal with when it comes to fueling up the car. But compromise there was Luke Burtonshaw, as Oscar Fredriksson now retakes 4th position away from the Brits.
Yeah, it always also looked like he was better on the exit of the bus stop and has more momentum going there. So now in traffic there will be another skill which has to be proven. And yeah, you're right. The cars are now spreading all over the track. So LMP2s spread a little bit more wildly in the first 3 places now. And yeah, but there are of course still groups packed together with drivers with equal skill.
It's all going to come down to the last, I would probably say the last 10 to 15 minutes, where we're really going to see who's going to be in clear contention for the race victories. There's Yaroslav Roth, Niklas Schneider. Well, there's Niklas Schneider in the GT3 BMW. So Yaroslav Roth in the 637 is in 5th place. Oh, and hits the barriers high and wide out of the Le Mans chicane. Yaroslav Roth, I'm not too sure if he got a touch there, but that car is very much second hand. And then you see 3 wide. I thought it might happen. Fredriksson and Burtonshaw battling away for their place for 4th place in the GTP cars. They made it 3 wide. Burtonshaw could have had a sniff there on Fredriksson, but Fredriksson very much has kept things at bay at the minute. Niklas Schneider now up into 4th place despite his Dukes of Hazzard impersonation early doors. And there was a wiggle for the GTP car behind. Now that is going to be trying to pick out the number on that. I'm not too sure if it was Pateklis and the well, no, it was one of the Acuras, so it could have been Posilico, it could have been Holmer. Just have that slight bit of aero imbalance, and that's another thing we need to talk about here as well, Sebastian. That if you get into the dirty backwash of the car in front, it doesn't matter whether you're a GTP or a GT3, but I'm wondering whether if it wasn't aero wash, it might have been a possible problem for that GTP car, that maybe something might have gone. Now look at now we're just going to have a look on board with Yaroslav Roth. So coming out of the Le Mans chicane. Oh, I think steering wheel troubles possibly there.
Yeah, whatever it is, hardware issue is there, but he's doing great to keep it up on the wall and not spinning, like uncontrollably and killing more cars in the process. Oh, about killing cars.
No. Oh, it's only going to happen again, and this time it was GT3 versus LMP2. That was definitely a handicap match there, and I think that might have been, I hate to say this could be Verveyen. That was I think that might have been, well, Verveyen's retired, but it was definitely a GT3 car. So, looks like Kevin Hill. Oh, it was one of the Corvettes, Kevin Hill, who was running in the top 3. He's now in pit lane. And, the other car
got a spare car.
Yes, that's true. But there's Vorovsky, who is now 2 3/4 seconds behind Bogdan Moldovan, who's kept the 96 Mercedes very much on the black stuff and hasn't really put a foot wrong. But that lead, we know the pace of Vorovsky, having done a really, really good job so far. At one point was leading class, but also having his own dramas as well.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Let's have a look at the replay here with Kevin Hill, and oh no, it was the GTP. It was the GTP that set it off. I've got a feeling that was the 580 Acura of Giulio Posilico. That, I think, will very much be looked at by race control, because it was neither the LMP2 car's fault, neither Kevin Hill's fault. I think Posilico may be more than likely reported for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we would have a top-down perspective, maybe there's also some netcode in there, but he's the one deciding to dive down there into that little gap, which wasn't wide enough and caused this, accident, and especially sad for the GT3, who could do nothing about this.
Teklis in the 666 Caddy, the Latvian driver, now in pit lane, currently running 14th in the GTP classification. Looks like Travis Walling hasn't continued, neither has Steven Verveyen is still continuing. Lasse Deters in the 582, Deters from Germany in the 582, 499 Ferrari is still circulating, but is 5 laps down off of the GTP class. But yeah, that was, as you said, I mean, it was the slightest touch, right front to left rear, and then it just caused a domino rally effect, and Kevin Hill hitting the wall hard. Schiffer from the lead into the pit, so that's going to allow, if Jesper Eriksson does not continue, but a lot of cars did go take advantage of the first safety car period we had. And one of them was this driver here, Jesper Eriksson from SimRace Sweden Esports in the 37 Acura.
Yeah, that's now the interesting bit. I think he was in P3 before the dive to the pits by Schiffer, and he wasn't so far behind, but how long can he go now with the fuel he took under safety car?
Well, it's actually, no, yeah, it wasn't the first safety car, it's the second safety car. So,
yes.
so here we go. We're going to have another look. This is trackside. So Giulio Basilico closing in at so much speed.
Yeah.
Bang. There's the touch. And that was another GT. That was one of the Cadillacs involved. That was Puteklis. So Puteklis was closing in on the back of Kevin Hill, looking to make a move, and then all of a sudden, yeah, Basilico, so much slipstream, and it's just like that can happen. You'll see what the battle's doing in front of you and go, yeah, maybe I can time this. Sometimes there's a 50% chance of getting it right, and then there's a 50% of it all going horribly wrong, and that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, right. It didn't work out, just to say. And in the end, it's sad for everyone when something like that happens.
Yeah, so Puteklis in the pits for a very, very long time. He's been in pit road for over 3.5 minutes. But with just under an hour, 1 hour, 27 minutes and 30 seconds left to go, let's run you down the top three in each class. So Eriksson, Blomqvist and Fredriksson ran out the top three in GTP. Pearson, Batten and Walker rounding out the top three in LMP2. Moldovan, Bavrovsky and Abajo rounding out the top three in GT3. So Bogdan has got a lead of about 3 seconds over Trevor at the minute as the number 96 independent gets through the Le Mans chicane. Just wonderful to see the headlights now finally come on here at Daytona. They have been for a little while, but of course it just goes to show that with the added addition of darkness setting in here, Sebastian, track temperature has dropped underneath 22 degrees Celsius. Once that darkness intensifies, what we're also going to see is that drivers have to reset themselves a little bit, because once you have darkness fall at Daytona, parts of the circuit are not lit, so you're going to have to go by your gut feeling, or as for those German listeners out there, what your Popometer says to you.
Yeah, right. Not only that, and hopefully nobody did, make a shadow his brake marker. So that would be pretty not exciting. But no, of course, here these drivers don't do stuff like that. But you're right, it's different conditions. It's maybe tricks the brain in certain places. And of course, it's getting colder, it's getting faster. And yeah, the people have to adjust their driving to that, to be the fastest on track and win the race.
Oh, another drama here for Niklas Schneider in the 628.
No.
Oh, he just lost it. He just lost it. And again, the sole GTP car, the 608 Porsche of Sigurd Christopher Wamsler, becomes an inadvertent participant in there. There's Radecki Gregorz in the 548 Ferrari just coming through on our GTP class leader. And, well, there has been a change. Garen Batten, the 61 from Australia, now leads the LMP2 class. So, as Martin Pearson in the 581 has just gone in for a trip into pit lane on lap 31 of the race. There is Stephen Jones, the 578 from the UK, threading the eye of the needle through one of the LMP2 cars, and that is going to be Ryan Walker. So Ryan from Altitude Esports has had Stephen Jones up the inside, and Ryan is going to look to the outside here on through the top part of the tri-oval, running into T1. Sparks coming off of the diffusers from the 97 car, and that is Jesper Eriksson, the overall race leader, now coming through. Walker's got to give him some space, does the job very quickly. Flash of the lights to Stephen Jones from Jesper Eriksson through the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, and the Swede in the 37 Acura maintains a clean path through the traffic in front of him at the moment with an hour and 24 to go.
Yeah, at least for the moment. But as you could see, there's the mix of GT3s and LMP2s and GTP cars, and that's of course not a place to park there.
Funny enough, as I'm saying that, I've just been... yeah, Dan Pepples from SimRacing said, mate, I just clicked on the major stream and I hear a familiar voice. I said, haha, you got a shout out too. Yeah, I know you're a 1, 2, 3 at the moment, Dan. Shut up. I do have live timing. So does Sebastian. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that SimRace Sweden, who have been around for a good couple of years now, you've got quite a lot of fast drivers in that. So to see them at the front of the field, I'm not at all surprised, but they may not have it all their own way. Sports car racing can be unpredictable at the best of times. So now we see that's Schiffler coming through into shot, getting through on Garen Batten from the LMP2 class lead. So now when we get to that 1 hour mark remaining, you're then going to see not so much a lull, but maybe where the teams are thinking, okay, what plans, what contingencies can we put into place to give ourselves the optimum chance of winning? Cameron Brown getting through on one of the other cars there, as you can now see a swarm of vehicles, and there is that Jesper Eriksson again. No, that's Daniel Holmer, I believe, in the number 79 that's just gone through shot in the Acura. But yeah, we've got a little bit of a 2 and 8 here. This is for 6th position. And they've got one of the Ferraris closing in. Martin Pearson's got to be very careful. One of the Ferraris trying to go through on the inside and has just done so. But yeah, Martin Pearson's got to be very, very careful. So has Cameron Brown. Bart Mattia, who at one point, until making a pit stop, was the class leader and is now with them. They've got another GTP car. That's going to be Pasilico closing on in, I believe, and Pasilico's got to be very careful what he does here.
And I have to go back to Batten for 1 second, because he's 42 seconds ahead. There was a huge difference in the horseshoe between letting the traffic pass on him on that very same spot as we have seen it with Cameron Brown. So yeah, that's always again key to play with the traffic and yeah, be 1 step ahead.
So Bart Mattia going to the outside, trying to get the move here on Martin Pearson. They get their way through on one of the GT3 Mustangs through the tri-oval and the side draft, working to the effort of Bart Mattia. But I think maybe Martin Pearson decided, you know what, this is a battle that I don't want to start fighting yet. When we get into that final 15, 20 minutes of the race, that's when you're going to throw, you're going to play all your cards on the blackjack table. You're going to roll the dice, see if you get lucky number 7 or snake eyes, and that's going to be quite crucial. Now, Nico Schiffler might be a bit of a distance away. He's 54 seconds behind Jesper Eriksson, who is leading overall and in GTP. There is still an opportunity. I mean, Schiffer set the fastest lap of the race. The only driver, apart from Radek Gregorz, that went sub 1 minute 30 around this circuit. So everyone else in the GTPs, they've been pretty evenly matched. I mean, we've not seen, I think the slowest lap time we've seen to what has been a very competitive GTP field. Thomas Kuhn in the number 71 Acura, fastest lap from that car, 1:31.5. So when you look at the coverage between the lap times, it's a lot closer than meets the eye. Lap times say one thing, but it's about how the drivers do their best. Now we've got the 2 cars from SimRace Sweden, Oscar Fredriksson round the outside at Daniel Blomqvist. Look, your team manager Dan Pepples is not going to like that. I know he's counting chickens. He's probably going to lay an egg before he knows it. But that's one of the things that these teams need to do. You will have teams like SimRace Sweden who will have multiple entries, and sometimes it's about like saying, yes, you can race firm and fair, but you've also got to be careful of what strategies, because the team, multiple drivers from multiple teams, they'll probably have a group briefing and say, okay, right, this is how we're going to play it. And they'll always be talking to each other. And that's one of the beautiful things about sim racing, is that you can be... and I've just been informed, Dan Pepples, team manager at SimRace Sweden, has said drivers from the team are free to race. That's what I like to hear, Mr. Pepples. So Blomqvist and Fredriksson, if they go toe-to-toe, there's no quarter that's going to be given. But one of the biggest rules in racing, never take out your teammate.
Yeah, but no multi-21 here at SimRace Sweden.
Oh dear, I know that I can feel my ears burning now that Dan's going to probably be laughing his head off at the moment. But yeah, it is a case of just, you know, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. Don't overdrive the car, especially in these colder conditions. And that's going to be quite crucial for these teams. The air temperature has gone down to 21.6 degrees. Track temperature has pretty much stabilised. And this is one of the things I love about the nighttime. Look at the sparks flying from the diffuser of Bart Matthias' number 5 Dallara LMP2. That's a wonderful shot at the nighttime.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. I mean, the sundown is also great, but now we have a little bit of rest light, and of course we have some lights here at Daytona, while Garen Batten now comes into pits. He had 40 seconds lead, no, comes out of the pits. So where is he now?
Currently running 8.
P8?
Yeah, so he's gonna drop towards the bottom part of the top 10. Maybe I would say he's actually come out in front of Ray Partridge and James Marsden. So that's the number 8 for the US and the number 600 from the UK. So Ray Partridge with that very striking dog bear sidage on the centre fin of the back cowling of the car. And then you've got the lime green and deep purple liveried car of James Marsden from the UK in the number 600. And then a further 12 seconds back from that, you've got David Baker. Martin Pearson, however, has just come out of pit road and was in the pits for nearly 42 seconds as Nico Schiffer gets through on this trio in the LMP2 class as they continue their battle over 8th place and into the Le Mans chicane once again.
And now it's the question, can he get his car out of the pits in a defense strategy against Ray Partridge, or are they even fighting behind him? Or, yeah, can Garen run away?
Change in GT3 in the meantime. Bogdan Moldovan now finally pits on lap 34. Trevor Vavrovsky now leads in the number 10 Porsche. Sergio Abajo in the number 541 Mustang, the driver from Spain, now pits as well. So we could see that Kostas Kaloudis now will move up into effectively second position as a result of those drivers going into the pit lane. And more to the point, well, it is seeing, well, you can see the pace now. Ray Partridge has literally been dropped by Garen Batten like a bad habit. You can see the gap was about 0.3 of a second between the pair, but then Ray Partridge now finds himself 1.5 seconds and climbing. So yeah, Garen Batten, keep your eyes on that man in the number 61. Could be one of the drivers that could contend for the victory in the LMP2 class for the Major Series European region round 1 here at the Daytona road course, as Radecki Gregors gets through on both Pearson and now on Partridge through the high side of the banking and onto the back stretch.
Yeah, I wonder if Garen is doing a triple crown, like winning the GTP in the International, winning the LMP2 in the Europe, and then winning the GT3 in the American. So I don't know if he does that, if that's the plan, but it could be fun.
Well, we are seeing a raft of GTP cars now in. Jesper Eriksson and Oscar Fredriksson for SimRace Sweden Esports have come in. Thomas Kuhn has come in, so has just Giulio Posilico. So, yeah, it's also quite interesting. This is what I like when you have direct communication by phone to a team boss. So Dan Peppels has just said that Oscar Fredriksson, Daniel Blomqvist and Daniel Holmer are all in the same crew for next week's iRacing Daytona 24. Jesper Eriksson not doing the 24. And Edvin Forslund, who is running, is in the second team for the iRacing Daytona 24. None of his teammates were able to do this event, so we have got some of the powerhouse drivers from SimRace Sweden Esports here live on the global Sim Racing channel. But Radek Gregors running in that wonderful yellow and red, not red and yellow, folks. I love that livery. It really does accentuate the lines of that car and gives it a different look. Daniel Holmer now in pit lane. So is Daniel Blomqvist. So is Luke Burtonshaw. So the cycle of pit stops, I think, will probably at best maybe have one or two more. Nico Schiffer now retakes the race lead. So the 79 car has done 2 pit stops. I'm wondering, is Schiffer... this could be an outside left field strategy call from him. It could be the 3000 IQ strat from Nico Schiffer. Could he and Radek Gregors be going... Well, I don't think Gregors will, but Schiffer pitted on lap 30. Gregors pitted on lap 22. And they've only done 1 stop apiece. I would say maybe in the next 4 to 5 laps, we could see that Gregors will come in. Schiffer will go out as far as possibly lap 57 to 60 and might put in the only 2 stopper of the race. That could be an interesting strategy call for the 568 from Germany.
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, good planning. As we all know, proper preparation prevents piss poor performances, and he was ready to take the risk, and maybe it will pay off. Now he has a 7-second lead, and yeah, with that strategy against Gregors, maybe it will seal the deal, but we have 1 safety car left which can be deployed.
Yeah, and also in the meantime, picture in picture in the top right hand corner of the screen, Giulio Posilico. Well, unfortunately, if you bite, you get bitten back, and Posilico went off and has dropped to 12th in the GTP classification. And here is Oscar Fredriksson closing in on Luke Burtonshaw for 5th place. It's ding-ding, seconds out, round, whatever you want to call it, between these two. They have been battling tooth and nail throughout this race as they get through. I think that was Martin Pearson they just got through on in the 581 LMP2 car, as Fredriksson trying to put the pressure on. Bart Mattia in the meantime trying to get through on Cameron Brown. They just got through the horseshoe. They're about to go into the kink in the next left-hander, which then leads up very, very nicely to the second of the 2 horseshoes here. That then brings us on to the double left, heading onto the banking once again. But more to the point, Bart Mattia trying to nice and neatly make his way through the field, and there's not a big gap. Bart Mattia is only 11.4 seconds from the race lead. Oscar Fredriksson now coming up to backmarker LMP2 traffic. He's got to watch himself here. So traffic management is going to be very much key. Burtonshaw gets held up a little bit inadvertently trying to go around the outside through the double left onto the banking, and now he's going to get a tow from the car in front, the LMP2. And there you see the slipstream when you've got LMP2 in front of GTP, and then straight away Burtonshaw is flat chat on the throttle. Through he goes, and now he's got Fredriksson back in his crosshairs.
That's a point, and also at the beginning of this lap, Burtonshaw and Fredriksson can be happy that they're both still alive after Burtonshaw nearly lost it there on the curbs.
So, over 200 miles an hour, Burtonshaw goes through on another LMP2 car, now holding onto the brakes. So they're going to be around about 80 miles an hour through this first part of the circuit. Oh, right, now who is that in front? That is Daniel Blomqvist. So now it's become a 3-way scrap. Now, Burtonshaw qualified 11th in class, now is up 5 spots and could make it 6 if he gets the opportunity. Fredriksson started on the inside of row number 2. And more to the point, well, Daniel Blomqvist has made up 3 places. So the biggest mover in the GTP class has been Radek Gregorz. Started on the outside of row number 4 and is currently second, 6.8 behind Nico Schiffer, who put it on pole. Got a fright when Ericsson sent it around the outside of him at T1 on lap 1. But it's just a case of, yeah, Ericsson, I think, just wanted to fire a warning shot to say to Schiffer, yeah, you might be on pole, but you've got to watch yourself, because there's not just me, there's my teammates that could be coming along for the ride. And 3 wide in front of Luke Burtonshaw there. I thought it was going to happen, and that is Bart Matea that they've just got through, plus one of the Corvettes. So I thought it was going to be a case we were going to see 3 wide. GTP up high, LMP2 in the middle, and down at the bottom, good old GT3.
Yeah, but we have seen how that can end, so I'm happy everyone is going round and round the track, and yeah, not getting their gloves fully off now with a little bit over an hour to go.
Like Duplessis and Adesanya going for the middleweight UFC title in the cage. You know, you will see gloves coming off 100% when we head into the dying stages of this race, guaranteed. We saw the calmness of the race start, then we saw all the calamity within the first 15 minutes, and now we're nearly an hour and 20 into this race. Of course, the total time on the ticker is 2.4 hours. That's 2 hours 25 minutes, and that's a wonderful trackside shot, showcase, sweeping in from the grass and showcasing how low some of the drivers are getting on the banking, especially the GTP cars. But then they have to slightly compromise their line, so to speak, when they have to go higher up the banking, and it can be a bit precarious, especially when you're coming out of the double left-hander through from the second of the 2 horseshoes after the kink, which is taken quite quickly at times. And there we see Trevor Vorovsky in the number 10 Porsche, still leading. He's got a little bit of a lead at the moment in terms of the the GT3 class, and second is Edgaras Staupas from Lithuania, who is 35.5 seconds behind. So Vorovsky has also done two trips down pit lane, but is carrying on very, very nicely in that wonderfully black and lime fluorescent green Porsche 911, as one of the Ferraris gets through on the high side of the banking. So Vorovsky, you might think with a 37.3 second advantage with 65 minutes to go, might have an advantage. Ryan Walker from Altitude Esports, that is the number 42. Oh, now was there an assist? He got a touch. Oh, now Ryan's going to be smarting after that one, and the car ends up backwards. He holds onto the brakes, spins up the rear tyres, and gets out of harm's way. Bit of a shame there for Ryan. It can happen that someone can be a little bit later on the brakes, but then also the fact that if that car comes flying out of the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, gets that good hitch of traction, and all of a sudden it can be that's all she wrote. So Ryan Walker drops down a few more positions, I'm afraid, and that was Cameron Brown actually that was the other car involved with the incident.
Yeah, and P2 in the GT3s just got into the pits. So Krafek is now with 44 seconds down in P2. Yeah, but that's not the end of the story, of course, because I think the pit stops, did twist a little bit on the timing and on the gaps. Yeah.
So I'll just give the timing a little bit of a refresh and see what that does to it, but it may not be the case. But Bogdan Moldovan, who at one point was battling away with Sergio Abajo, amongst others, for the class lead, now currently running in the 96 Mercedes-AMG GT3 in 4th spot. And, who is I'm just wondering, that is a Porsche behind him. That's going to be Charlie Stothard in the 01 Porsche. So that is the battle for 4th and 5th. 4 minutes to go until we hit the golden hour, the final hour of this 2.4-hour race. Francesco Saggetti has been in the wars today in the 579 Acura. Dives up the inside of Sigurd Christopher Wamsler in the 608 Porsche 963 hybrid. That car's also had its fair share of trials and tribulations, and yeah, when you see GTPs involved in an incident, you know if it's a high speed, it's always going to be a high hit.
Yeah, right. And another thing is, of course, if a GTP hits a GT3, usually the GT3 takes the bitter end out of this, also due to iRacing's physics. But in the end, of course, nobody wants to harm anyone. And I don't think that anyone in the GTP is driving careless, because, yeah, aero damage, of course, is crucial.
So yeah, this is getting very, very, very close between Oscar Fredriksson and Daniel Blomqvist for the positions, and more to the point, it is a case of, as Dan Pepples, their team manager, said, free to race. So believe you me, you put team against team, and if they're from the same stable, you can see now Oscar Fredriksson closing on Daniel Blomqvist. Which way is Fredriksson going to put the car? Because they're going to be going to the Le Mans chicane. They're going line astern. That was a very shrewd move there from Oscar Fredriksson to just keep in the wheel tracks, because he knows that he can gain all that time. Blomqvist goes high, Fredriksson goes through. I think what the thing is, now they are free to race, but you can interpret that in so many different ways, can't you, Sebastian? In the fact of, like, saying, well, yeah, we want to fight, but you know what? Should we just leave it until the end of the race and see what happens? And that's probably the best strategy you can have in a 2.4-hour encounter.
Yeah, not only that, if somebody gets a better exit out of the chicane, maybe trade a draft instead of paint, and then maybe close the gap to the cars in front.
Yeah, that's going to be the crucial point here. And here we go, Giulio Posilica. Oh, not again. Well, lightning has struck more than once or twice for the Italian, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was more than trading paints in this case.
That was more than trading paints. It was swapping paint and then rearranging the rear end of your Acura. I think also a good point, and I have to give credit to Dan for saying this, that if it's not beneficial for one of the drivers to be ahead, they'll just not fight and let each other go. That's actually a really good strategy, because one of the I did say about the big cardinal sin you cannot commit in racing, whether it be sim racing or in real life, is never take out your teammates. And the thing is, we saw Sim Race Sweden locking out the top 3 at one point before we saw a set of pit stops. Now we're on lap 49 of this race, so coming up to the final hour of the Major Series European region, round 1 out of 7 here at the Daytona road course. Top 3 as follows. There's Eric Smith recovering from what we saw earlier on for the 5.56. He's currently running P8. Nico Schiffer, who could be on course in maybe 10 laps time to do his second and maybe final pit stop of the race, is leading the way in the 5.68 from Germany. Then we head to the 5.48 Ferrari of the independent of Radecki Gregors, who is only 9 seconds behind. Then we go a further 4.9 seconds back to Sweden's Jesper Eriksson from SimRace Sweden Esports Pro in the 37 Acura. He rounds out the top 3. Oscar Fredriksson in the number 12 sister car rounds out 4th, and then it's a 5th place for the 5.61 of Daniel Blomqvist. As well, that was a good bit of maneuverability there from Jesper Eriksson coming out of the Le Mans chicane. So Jesper Eriksson for SimRace Sweden rounds out P3. Oscar Fredriksson in GTP rounds out the top 12. And, well, then we've got the two cars in shot. Oscar Fredriksson deciding to stay out of trouble, so Daniel Blomqvist goes... right, this is going to change now, however, because Radek Gregorz has now pitted. I think maybe could be another opportunity, and that now puts the two Swedish team, that's now changed it. So Blomqvist goes P3, Fredriksson P4, and a bit further behind, well, 1.5 seconds thereof, Luke Burtonshaw is 5th, battling with Daniel Holmer in the number 79. LMP2 in the meantime, Stefan Jones leads the way in the 578, and then we've got Bart Mattia 14.8 seconds adrift in second position. Remember, Bart Mattia was leading for quite a lot of the early stages of this race, so Jones first, Mattia second. Keep your eyes on the 61 of Garen Batten, who's rounding out P3. Fourth, having made up 12 spots so far this race. Credit where credit is due to James Marsden in the 600, who rounds out the top 4. And Cameron Brown in the 42, who we saw a little bit earlier on, who had that slight incident with Ryan Walker. Well, Cameron Brown in the 42, a further little bit further back, is rounding out the top 5. Then we go to GT3, and it's Trevor Vavrovsky that leads the way in the number 10 car for the composite racing team. Then we've got Sergio... no, we haven't got Sergio Abajo, my apologies there. Bogdan Moldovan in the number 96, rounding out second. Kevin Hill still in contention in the number 523 Chevrolet Corvette C8R that we saw getting taken out in that earlier incident in the race, but has come up to third place. That is, for a brief moment, that is Edgar Staupas, who now is 5th, having got past Kostas Kaloudis. Sergio Abajo for Spain, and more to the point, the leading Ford Mustang GT3 in the 541 rounds out our top 4 in GT3, and also for a lot of the first part of the race, the Spaniard was leading the classification. So with 56.5 minutes to go, there is still plenty of turns and twists to be told in this story.
Yeah, that's right, and there's so much more going on. We have the tactics with the fuel stops. So many cars are on different strategies from each other. Merely like 10-15 seconds of gap between them. So there's much to come in the last hour of this race.
So we ride on board with Sergio Abajo picture in picture. We see Fredriksson and Blomqvist side by side through the tri-oval and across the line. Fredriksson to the outside, and as we said, if you're not going to battle, you let the other driver go through. A little bit of a run wide there from Fredriksson, just keeping out of harm's way, and that is a very, very shrewd tactic to have. You don't want this drama to persist at this late stage of the race. Let's not forget that these two cars are in contention for a podium, but it's going to be the team that puts their strategy and makes it work. If a mistake happens, it's going to fall, and it happens on track. The only person kicking themselves, there's going to be disappointment in the team for sure, but it's going to be the person behind the wheel that will be saying, I knew, they'll be kicking themselves in the backside going, I knew I shouldn't have tried that. I could have waited maybe until the next lap for it to happen. And that's what you've got to look at. You've got to look at the big picture. Yeah, you can look at the W and go, yeah, we're going to go guns blazing. And you can see there Blomqvist having to negotiate the traffic, which means now Fredriksson has got the slipstream and now will pull in behind the number 561 and save fuel. So that's another strategy. It's team versus team. You might have the same car. You might be underneath the same umbrella. but you're battling each other, and that is when teams are allowed to race that you see some spectacular action, especially in the dying stages. And did I see a cheeky flash of lights towards Daniel Blomqvist by Oscar Fredriksson? Possibly not. It might just be the overhead lighting catching some part of the tri-wing on the back of these Acuras as they come through shot.
It could be, but as you said, it's for a podium, and nobody will give that up unless you're not Felipe Massa, and that's the key. Like, be a team, not be too hard on each other, but in the end, it's for a podium as on a major event, and yeah, why not try it then in the later stage when it's safe, maybe, or be sneaky and do it with alternate pit strategy and save some fuel.
Meantime, side by side, this is Cameron Brown versus Bart Mattia. Brown gets through, and Garen Batten at the moment has a 3/4 of a minute lead. But you have to look at it from this perspective. The driver that has done the most recent of pit stops in the class in the top 5 is Bart Mattia. So I think, well, he's done 2 pit stops. So it all comes down to the law of averages. And the biggest thing that we have in sports car racing is always the battle for consistent lap times. You know, you want to hit your marks. You want to make sure that you don't get too many off tracks. I mean, I'm looking at the moment. So just to give you all a bit of an insight. So when it comes to like off tracks, well, Thomas Coombe in the number 71 Acura has had the least off tracks of anybody in this race. He's currently running 9th, having started 12th, and has done 8 off tracks so far. You then go to someone like Luke Burtonshaw, who we've got on screen at the moment, 21 off tracks. Oscar Fredriksson, who's ahead of him, 27. Daniel Blomqvist has kept it nice and clean this race to a point. 16 off tracks. Jesper Eriksson, 13 for him. Of course, the biggest notable one was after the first safety car restart, where he dropped it at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe whilst leading. Nico Schiffler, 20 off tracks. Yeah, single digits for LMP2 cars, including... now, this is quite funny. We haven't seen this name on the timing, but he is going to get a mention. The number 58 of Tom Guest, Niao. And that is actually what is on his iRacing name that we see on our timing screens. 9 off tracks. Edward Shelley, 7. Martin Pearson, 8. So on our timing, it's got the Niao, but of course our graphics can't show the full thing on there. Then we look at GT3. Sergio Abajo, 7 off tracks. Kostas Kaloudis, 5. Jakub Krafik in the 597 Porsche, 7. So it does go to show that, yes, you can be pushing, but sometimes there are some drivers that will be less susceptible to hitting their incident points maximum and getting a drive through. But Stefan Jones is battling away with the 5-7, is definitely battling away with Ray Partridge. So this is the battle for 7th and 8th, and now, well, Partridge has been dropped a little bit by the number 578 with sparks flying from the rear diffuser. 50 minutes to go, and, well, I have to say this, Jesper Eriksson is starting to push. Last lap by the Swede in the 37 in second place was a 1:30.468. Response from Nico Schiffer with a 1:30.615. But the previous tour, well, Nico Schiffer was nearly half a second slower. But you've got to also factor in, I've just seen the top speeds being recorded. Jesper Eriksson did not make any gain on that lap to Nico Schiffer. We're seeing speeds of around 340 plus kilometers an hour, which is around about, by my reckoning, 215 to 220 miles an hour, because once they're going into the back marker traffic, they're getting additional, like, not just single, but double, maybe even triple toes. And more to the point now, we're seeing things really start to build as we hit just under 50 minutes to go. We've got Blomqvist, Fredriksson, and, more to the point, Luke Burtonshaw. So it is a Ferrari leading, and a Ferrari in 5th, but we've got 3 Acuras all representing SimRace Sweden Esports in the middle. And more to the point, there'll be a time when the 3 SimRace Sweden Esports cars will come in. Now, Nico Schiffer is about to complete lap 56 of the race. He pitted once so far. 56 laps completed, and Schiffer does an even better lap time. Because of the fuel now being reduced in that car, he's just put in a 30.155, and the gap is still around about 16.6 seconds. And, well, Jesper Eriksson has just lost 9/10. Lead now 16.5 and climbing. Fredriksson right in the draft of Blomqvist. Burtonshaw tries to put it to the outside. And they've got to go round the outside of back marker traffic. I think that was Bogdan Moldovan that they've just gotten through on, possibly. Or it might have been one of the Mercedes a little bit further down the order. I think it might have been Kostas Kaloudis, possibly. But you can just see that now Blomqvist and Fredriksson will have their engineers and their support crew in their ears saying, right, Burtonshaw is closing. Stay safe out there. Get yourself safely through the back marker traffic, but don't give him an inch because he will take a country mile.
Yeah, great battle between the 3. We had it in the opening stages. Now they're coming back together again. And yeah, coming back together, that's also the point with Schiffer. By my calculations, he needs to be under the 44-minute mark to make it happen with the 2-stop strategy. And as you said, he was 56 laps.
57 now.
Yeah,
57
now. So we're pretty close to either of he's stopping 1 or 2 laps too early, or he really is going to make it.
I think
really close call.
I think he probably will make it, and the main reason why I say this, he is burning the fuel to the fumes in that tank. Like literally, he was. There's another driver we have to contend with here as well. Eric Smith in 8th place, who started 14th in GTP. Let's not forget. He pitted lap 31. So this now means...
Including 2 safety cars?
Including 2 safety cars. So the big thing that those 2 early safety cars within the first 30 minutes have played into the hands of Nico Schiffer. But also, this gives an opportunity for Eric Smith to get one up on some of the drivers in front. So you look at the pit stops that have happened so far. Jesper Eriksson, 2. Daniel Blomqvist, 2. Eriksson, last pitted on lap number 39. This is going to get a bit hairy through LMP2 traffic and GT3s. And the GT3 stay to the low side, LMP2 to the high side. Now Fredriksson has got Burtonshaw where he doesn't want him. Right up his exhaust pipe and the rear diffuser going into the Le Mans chicane. But the 2 Acuras seem to be really well planted going through that part of the circuit. Now we've got a replay. James Marsden. This could be a slight drama for the 600. And he loses the back end, wobbles, possible a bit of netcode, and the 600 is hard into the wall on the high side, and the front end an absolute mess.
Yeah, maybe he still got his spare car, but in the end, yeah, what does it matter if you lose your car there? It's just tragic.
Well, now the battle we see on our screens becomes the race lead battle because Nico Schiffer on lap 58 has pitted. Lap 58. I think he'll make it to the end, and he'll probably cross the... He'll push. I think the good thing is, because of this back marker traffic situation, it is going to help Nico Schiffer. So he's now brimmed the tank. The German in the 568 Ferrari comes out of pit lane.
I say that's too early. Without another safety car, he won't make it, I say. It will be a little splash and dash in the end.
But one other thing that I need to throw into the mix here. We talked about slipstreaming, didn't we? From the very early going, Sebastian. Bearing in mind that even with slipstreaming, if you we have seen it before where drivers. I mean, I'm wondering whether Schiffer might be doing lifting and coasting inadvertently because of getting through on backmarker traffic, as now the battle for what is effectively at the moment second on the road. Luke Burtonshaw is going to go high and wide, 3 wide across the line, and he's getting the side draft, and he's got through. Burtonshaw, brazen, beautifully executed at 44 minutes to go, gets through on Blomqvist and Fredriksson, but let's look at it from another perspective. Burtonshaw went, right, I've got a chance, my opportunity, I've got to take it now. Expect there to be a pit stop race between these 3 drivers, because Burtonshaw and Blomqvist pitted on lap 40, Fredriksson pitted on lap 39. So you do the math, folks. It's going to be a race of who's going to get out of that pit lane first. Now, Burtonshaw might have saved a little bit more fuel by staying behind the 2, but also has had to try and push his way through some clear air. So he might be at a slight disadvantage, but they do say there's strength by numbers.
You're right, and that's what comes into play now. Does it work to be a little bit have less standing time in the pits with the refueling and then come out in front of your opponent, or does it even matter if somebody interferes like Burtonshaw right now? With all your plans you put together, but yeah, again, that's the whole part of the racing we are doing here.
So 42 minutes remaining on the timer, and Burtonshaw making sure that he got through, thought there was an opportunity, took the chance, and now finds himself ahead of the 2 SimRace Sweden Esports Acuras as we ride on board with Daniel Blomqvist in the 561 as they go through the left-hander at the kink for the other horseshoe here at T5, and then it's going to be a case of going through 6 and 7. So it's about how much Luke Burtonshaw is willing to push. Now he's going to be at the disadvantage. Blomqvist goes a little bit wider into those 2 corners and then dives straight to the inside to follow the line here of Burtonshaw. And now you're going to see the closing rate of speed between Burtonshaw and Blomqvist, and then Fredriksson, who will get a double toe once that engages. And then they've got the 01 GT3 car of Charlie Slothard in front, and Fredriksson. Oh, that was below the line. That was below the line.
Okay, he can go there until the cones. It's not a Williams Esports line. That
I wasn't going to mention that. I wasn't going to mention that because I know the driver who did that as well, and I'm not going to mention him on air. But the thing is, Burtonshaw is still carrying a big lick of speed. Blomqvist, however, decides to dive to the inside. Fredriksson looks for the move. There was room for him to try and do that, but he thought, you know what? He could see Burtonshaw was turning in. And now to the International Horseshoe. Up and under the inside goes... well, it's Fredriksson versus Burtonshaw in third. Blomqvist, now, is he going to dive through at T5? Not quite. Not quite. And that's the thing. It's now about, with 40 minutes to go, this is where the drivers really start to put the feelers out. And you can see that from the slightly aggressive, but also slightly curious driving style of Daniel Blomqvist. And what I mean by curious is showing the intent, putting the nose there, as if to say, now I know where there may be a possible mistake coming, but the thing is, it could happen on one lap, it might not happen on the next lap. But more to the point, I mean, Fredriksson, you know, we see Burtonshaw going 3 wide up the inside. Then we see Fredriksson dive through on the inside whilst negotiating GT3 traffic out of the Le Mans chicane. 2 great bits of spatial awareness and dynamic driving styles. Now Burtonshaw is going to look to the inside, but gets compromised with the number 15 car in front, which he just literally goes and throws a Slim Shady around the outside of it.
Was the LMP2 leader Batten, I think?
No, that was Alex Smith in the number 15.
Oh, okay. 61. Yeah. Okay.
Martin Pearson has just pitted in the LMP2 class in the meantime. So has Ryan Walker. So we're looking at the last cycle of pit stops, I would imagine. Martin Pearson, 41.8 seconds on his marks. Ryan Walker for Altitude Esports in the number 97 goes on to the jacks, so the timer starts counting down. He's been up in the air for about 10 seconds. Kevin Hill, in the meantime, has pitted, and this is Ryan Walker going straight on and into the nose. Into the barriers. That was the runoff area for the Le Mans chicane, so not too sure what happened with Ryan there, but it looked like the car just went straight on, so if he's had a bit of pedal trouble, that would explain it.
Yeah, of course. Looks like also a hardware issue. We have seen one out of the bus stop chicane. Maybe this is another one. And now it's up for opportunities with 37 minutes to go. Take the opportunities like they did out of the bus stop with the GT3 traffic. And that's now key to gain the advantage, and also like the speed that Burtonshaw shows now.
Yeah, very much the case. It is going to come down to, you know, we're getting closer and closer to that last, say, 15, 20 minutes. There's Garen Batten out of the pit lane, rejoins third. So, yeah, there's an opportunity for Garen Batten to go for the W. Alex Smith now in pit lane. Yeah, Ryan Walker picked up significant front-end damage and has been on his marks in the pit lane for 1 minute 35 seconds. Alex Smith in pit lane on his marks for just under 30 seconds. So we're now going to see that, and that was Eric Smith, I think, that just went off track in the background, possibly, in the number 556, straight on at turn 3 and onto the grass. So doing a bit of grass cutting with the front splitter on the 499 Ferrari. Thomas Coombe has now come into pit lane. So the big $64,000 question that we really need to try and find out here, Sebastian, is when are we going to see the pit stops coming in? Now, looking at it from this perspective, if they're running, we're now on lap 65 of this race with 36 minutes to go, I would probably say you look at Jesper Eriksson, Oscar Fredriksson, Daniel Blomqvist, Daniel Holmer, Luke Burtonshaw, they will all be in a pit stop race to see who's going to come out in front on the battle for what in my mind really looks to be the fact that Nico Schiffer is going to take over the race lead once those 5 cars come into pit lane. So maybe in the next 4 to 6 laps we could see that pit stop race happen. Schiffer will go back into the race lead. Gregors will probably be ending up in P2, and then Now, look at this for a bit of a Cinderella story. Let's see if we can track down the number 579 of Francesco Saggetti in the number 579 Acura, who is currently running P8 in class, started 6th, is only 18.8 seconds behind. There he is in the lovely black and, well, predominantly black with red tail fin accents, and also on the front nose cone of the Acura Type S car there. There's a possibility that this driver could be in contention for a top 3 on the podium.
And who would have guessed that? Who would have put his money on that man, Francesco Saggetti? Yeah, brilliant stuff.
There's always a dark horse in a race, isn't there? There always is one. And Francesco...
It's even black.
There you go. It'd be like the black horse from the Lloyd's TSB adverts, but Francesco, what you do not need to do is to glance the wall coming out of the double left. That's
Maybe
not
it gets a little bit faster with less paint. I don't know.
Well, that'll shave a few grams here or there off the weight of the car. But yeah, Francesco Saggetti doing a really, really good job at this point in the race. So just got to keep it nice and calm. 34 minutes to go. So, folks, it's going to be about seeing who between Ericsson, Fredriksson, Blomqvist, Holmer and Burtonshaw will blink first going into pit lane. There's Trevor Wawrowski in the number 10 car still leading the way. But he's not out of the woods quite yet because Bogdan Moldovan is only 1.6 seconds adrift. So, yeah. Yeah, I know. Dan Peppels. He's with his other half in Bavaria. So hello to his other half, Annie. They're enjoying a calzone with some proper German Spätzle. Good man. Good man.
Very good decision to take some Spätzle.
Yeah, so guten Appetit, ihr beiden, as we would say. But now they have blinked. Ericsson and Fredriksson have now pitted. So.
Food is on a table.
And it is at Dan Peppel's place. Right, moving swiftly on from that one. Cameron Brown has pitted from second in LMP2. So, yeah, then we've just got to see what's going to happen with GT3 because at the moment, well, Bogdan Moldovan is closing in, not by much, but it might, you know, if he can get closer and closer sector by sector to Trevor Wawrowski in the number 10 car. So now, Jesper Eriksson is out 36 seconds on his marks. Oscar Fredriksson 35.9. So Nico Schiffer finds himself currently P4 in the 5.68. And that's a wonderful livery there. Wonderful livery. Nice bit of baby blue with some white accents and a bit of black there as well. So
always great for night races to be recognizable.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So at the moment, well, Daniel Blomqvist leads after lap what is very shortly going to be lap 60. Right, Blomqvist has pitted. Blomqvist has pitted. I've got a bit of a feeling in my gut, to be honest here, Sebastian, that truth be told, Burtonshaw, I think is going to wait until the last minute. I think he's going to, yeah, because he cannot do anything else but say, right, okay, I've got to go for it. There's no other way of putting it. If they are going to pit earlier than me, I want to leave it right until the last moment to put that car into pit lane. And if he can be, I mean, we're seeing, what was it, 38, 39 seconds from SimRace Sweden with their pit stops. I think, if I'm honest with you, Burtonshaw needs to be no higher than the 35 in the air.
Yeah, and in the end, he's low on fuel, he's running fine, and he can now put some very, very hot laps on to maybe extend a little gap, which saves him in the end for the last half hour.
So, 30 minutes remaining here in the Major Series European Region Round 1 here at the Daytona Road Course. For the 2.4 hours, Luke Burtonshaw now finds himself just under a second behind Daniel Holmer. Or no, that is Daniel Holmer in front. Now Burtonshaw is now going on for another lap as Holmer is in. Holmer is in. So that is the last of the SimRace Sweden esports cars that has gone into pit lane. And Luke Burtonshaw on lap 68. Now we have seen one car, Eric Smith, do 31 laps on a tank of fuel. And Luke Burtonshaw pitting on lap 40. He's now on his 29th lap
Yeah.
of this stint. So I would think if he can, I'm wondering if there could be a bit of a masterstroke here. If Burtonshaw if he can get it to at least laps, if he can get it to lap 70, great. If he can get it to lap 72, that might be a bit too much to ask. Right, Daniel Holmer was just on his marks in the pit lane for 31.18 seconds. So I think Burtonshaw is going to be marginal on fuel. He might have to do a little bit of lift and coasting if he's wanting to get into 30 laps. That's going to be crucial here. And there is Sagetti at the minute, who is now right with Oscar Fredriksson. So now, well, Sagetti, if he can get into the top 6 after the fact he's done 3 pit stops, that's, well, they've got one of the other, there's another car in front. That's probably a GTP that they're going to be lapping. That's going to be Puteklis in the very Tron Legacy looking Cadillac V-Series. And Burtonshaw is in. Burtonshaw is in with 29 laps, 29 laps completed.
That's what I thought. I thought 29, that's the limit, but I wanted to wait for the magic of 30 laps, but yeah, didn't happen. But let's see where he comes out again.
Yeah, so timer is counting. Nico Schiffer retakes the race lead on lap 70 of this race. How long will Burtonshaw be on his marks? Well, Eriksson and Gregor has got through 30.3 seconds for Luke Burtonshaw. Well, now we have got a race on our hands. It's the run to the checkered, 27.5 minutes left on the timer here at Daytona for round 1 out of 7 for the European region. There he is. He's already gone. He's out in 4th. He's out in 4th place. Yeah. Good move there by... Yeah. 5.2 seconds. 5.2 seconds between Luke Burtonshaw and Oscar Fredriksson. Well, no, actually, it's now gone down to 1.7 because Burtonshaw is going to be on cold tyres if he has replaced them, because they do really rip through them on the GTPs. And that is more to the point now of, well, there's also one other thing that we have seen from the Ferrari in comparison with the Acuras here, Sebastian, and I'll say big thank you to our broadcast director, Christian de Bloy, saying that Burtonshaw has so much more top speed and it will help him, and he mentioned these 2 words, final lap. That could be very, very crucial, because now Jesper Eriksson has now got, breathing down his rear tri-wing, Radecki Gregorz. This is the battle for P2. Nico Schiffer, his last lap was a 132.1. Jesper Eriksson 130.264. Radecki Gregorz puts in a 129.9 as Francesco Sagetti goes into battle with Fredriksson, goes to the outside. Fredriksson dives up the inside of Burtonshaw.
Oh, wow.
That was a move. Well, Sagetti went high and wide, and he's got through on Burtonshaw as well.
Wow.
But the thing is now, we've still got to remember, Burtonshaw has only been on those tyres for 1 lap. They're not up to temp yet. He's got to really start wringing the neck of that Ferrari. And could that be the drama that befalls him? I mean,
I think he cutted the track in the chicane, and that's why the gaps was getting so close again. And he was also riding up high in the banking after the bus stop.
But there is still 25 minutes. It's still 25 minutes, folks. Never say never when it comes to Luke Burtonshaw, who has been, in terms of prowess, we're going to have a look here. Oh, this is GT3. That's the 01. Trying to keep out of the way of the number 10. And there was Eric Smith getting through. Oh, no! Oh, Trevor Vorovsky is no longer the GT3 leader because of that accident. Bogdan Moldovan now has the lead.
What a shame, but in the end, racing incidents, I would say, too many cars for too less space in that very corner with all the things going on in the mirrors, of course. But yeah, maybe even a meatball, right?
But yeah, possibly. I mean, the thing was, Eric Smith decided to chance it. In the meantime, Francesco Sagetti has pitted for what will be his final time. There is Jesper Eriksson, and there is the battle with Radeki Gregors. So, you think of it this way, Oscar Fredriksson is 17.7 seconds behind this battle. To the inside goes Gregors, Eriksson to the outside, and now the battle continues onwards. 24 minutes remain. So Nico Schiffer leads in GTP, Garen Batten leads in LMP2, and Bogdan Moldovan leads in GT3. And more to the point, it is going to be a case of if Eriksson, I know for a fact that if Eriksson gets past Gregors, Eriksson will be told by his team, right, hammer down, go for it. We've got an opportunity, because Nico Schiffer, who's just done a high 131.0, is only 4.7 seconds ahead. There we see picture in picture Daniel Holmer battling with Luke Burtonshaw, and they are only covered by 0.2 of a second, so that's the battle for P5. But yeah, if Eriksson gets through, now Schiffer has lost time. Gap is 3.5 seconds. He's dealing with traffic.
But that's what I assume, like the 30 wants to save the fuel to make it to the line. But in the end, it's the decision, like, do I try it for the win, or do I push and go in for the splash and dash? So yeah, basically the answer is pretty easy, that he needs to maintain as much gap as he can and save the fuel for the remaining 22 minutes.
So Jesper Eriksson closing in on Radeki Gregors once again. Daniel Holmer and Luke Burtonshaw battling it over P5 in the dying stages. Stefan Jones and we've got Stefan Jones in second, and he is right with Garen Batten. So the battle for LMP2 class honours is it's even closer than what's happening in GTP. GT3, Sergio Abajo is a big distance behind Bogdan Moldovan, who's leading by 25.5 seconds. In the dying stages of this race, we're heading our way towards the final 20 minutes. We've had twists and turns, we've had trials and tribulations, some drivers having a lot more success than others, as Daniel Holmer right in the wheel tracks at over 300 kilometers an hour behind Luke Burtonshaw, as Jesper Eriksson is putting on the pressure. Look at this, 2 battles, 1 Ferrari leading each battle, 1 Acura trying to put the frighters on, as Holmer tries for the up and under on Burtonshaw through T1, and it does not work, whereas Eriksson trying to see what he can do to get past Radeki Gregors through for P2. We've got the double left-hander coming up very shortly of the drivers in second and third. Oh, moment there for Gregors. He had to go to the outside, and Eriksson gets through.
Yeah, I thought about Schiffer and how he would be happy if they battle longer and longer. But yeah, that thing is now a thing of the past. So Eriksson can now hunt down Schiffer.
Yeah, so a real shame there but there is still an opportunity. Radeki Gregors is now starting to close that gap again. It's back down to 0.6 of a second. Stefan Jones now takes the lead in LMP2 with a couple of the drivers. I think one might have been that was in. I think it was, yeah, that might be the battling pair of Charlie Stoddard and Leon Seeley for GT3 class honours. And well, yeah, Garen Batten looks like, yeah, well, Garen's got to be on his best behaviour now, because any mistakes now is going to cost you the W. And well, I'm looking at the lap times now. Jesper Eriksson on lap 74 put in a 1 minute 30.744. Nico Schiffer 1:31.082. Gap went down by just over 0.3 of a second, and the gap now, for the first time in a long time, now goes under 3 seconds. But Radeki Gregors is being pulled along. This could mean we might have a grandstand finish for the victory in GTP, with the top 3, Nico Schiffer, Jesper Eriksson and Radecki Gregorz only covered by less than 3 seconds with 19.5 minutes to go.
And that's how we like it, with those three competitors so close together, everyone on a different strategy. Yeah, that will be a real hot final here in dark Daytona.
You couldn't ask for anything more here in the first round of the Majors Series for the European region, as both of them make their way through on backmarker LMP2 traffic. So with just 19 minutes to go, Schiffer leads in GTP, Ericsson P2 with Gregorz right on his tail. They get past on Cameron Brown, and Gregorz goes for the move. 3 wide, threads the eye of the needle, and through goes the 548. It's now Ferrari 1-2, but you can bet your bottom dollar. I've just seen Nico Schiffer in the same shot for the first time. Ericsson now being told by his team, right, you've got this, you know what you need to do, we'll leave you to it. But they'll still give him intervals, they'll still give him lap times, and still give him those motivating comments to say, right, come on Jesper, go for it, this is your time to shine. But we know for a fact that Schiffer's been on point all race long, the only one of 2 drivers, along with Gregorz, who might also have to do some lifting and coasting. Well, Gregorz, I think, might have to do a splash and dash. He pitted on lap 49. We're now on lap 76. So I think once Gregorz goes in for a splash, Ericsson will then start to push, and push big time as we come ever closer to that 15-minute mark on the timer remaining. It's going to come down to the wire here in GTP. Who's your money on? Will it be Schiffer? Will it be Gregorz? Or will it be Ericsson? I think Gregorz may be out of that battle because of a potential splash and dash. We're coming to the end of lap 76, so Radecki Gregorz will be on lap 27, and he's dived into pit lane. Now that's allowed Ericsson to push. Ericsson has got to find under 3 seconds in the next 17 minutes to get through and maybe go for the win against Germany's Nico Schiffer in the 568 Ferrari 499. It's game on. Battle lines have been drawn, but the war for round 1 is yet to be won.
And now is the question, are these 31 times enough to keep him at bay and even go to the finish flag? I mean, in the end, even a P3 with 2 stops is a great effort. But of course, Schiffer is now, dying for the win.
Well, Sergio Abajo, who was leading the race at one point, is battling away with Kostas Kaloudis for 4th spot as they go through into T1. So a little bit more of activity in the pit lane. One of the other GTPs, I think it's the teammate of I think that was the other Ferrari in the sister livery of Nico Schiffer that had just come out of pit road. So Stefan Jones has had to pit. Garen Batten now back in the lead of LMP2, and Abajo has got through on, as I said, on Kostas Kaloudis. These two are split by just about 0.6 of a second, but meantime, Jesper Ericsson is less than 2 seconds behind Nico Schiffer. And I know for a fact that I can feel my ears burning because someone down in Bavaria, Dan Peppels, team manager of SimRace Sweden Esports, I'm talking about you, is probably on the edge of his seat, biting his fingernails to the quick. But it's more to the point, what happens now? Who is going to take the top honours? Is it going to be Schiffer? Is it going to be Ericsson? We are not that far away from finding out. Radecki Gregorz, in the meantime, has now returned to the circuit after a 21-second pit stop, plus also trundling down pit road at around 80 kilometres an hour, the pit lane speed limit. But whether he can make some moves in the last few moments, he's got about 10 seconds, 11 seconds to get himself into the top 5 that he needs to find. But now this is the case where we see this battle. This is for the final step on the rostrum for LMP2. That's Oscar Fredriksson trying to get around the outside of Martin Pearson. Oh, they clash paint. They clash paint. This could give Cameron Brown the opportunity to go for P3.
That's not what should happen at that corner, of course. But gladly, nobody did end up into the wall. But some misunderstanding there between the cars. Oh, and there's Birdshaw coming through.
Yeah, well, Burnshaw is now closing on Oscar Fredriksson, and that gap is now down to less than 9/10. So Burnshaw back in contention for a podium. But you've got to think of it this way. There's a further 18.6 seconds to go for second. So
I think
never
something
seen it.
happened at the front also. The gap was 1.5, now it's 3.
Yeah, 3. Well, yeah, it's 3 seconds. At one point it was 3.5. So Jesper Eriksson also having to deal with traffic. Maybe even you can get the slightest slowdown. And Dan Pepples, thank you very much. The only thing that he said, well, the first message was, no pressure here, mate. We know what Jesper can do. He will win this race by a mile. He said the only thing that can take it away is traffic. Exactly what I was thinking. Because Jesper Eriksson had got that gap down to 1.6 seconds. And this is the truth. Nico Schiffer, last lap, 1:30.390. Jesper Eriksson. Hold on to your hats for this, Sebastian. 1:31.964. That's 1.6 seconds. 1.6 seconds. But it is the case that Jesper can still try and close that gap. But if he gets any further mistake apart from traffic, then it is truly game over. Nico Schiffer is 12 minutes and 50 seconds away from taking the checkered as the winner of round 1 for majors for Europe in 2025.
And as he has picked up the pace again, I think he's quite sure now about his fuel, maybe. And yeah, he went with the 31s to save fuel and check out, maybe, yeah, talk to his crew chief. And now it seems that he's picking up the pace again. And also, as he maybe saw that there is opening a gap to Ericsson again due to traffic, now go for it and take the win.
Yeah, that's very much the case. So with 12 minutes to go, that means we'll probably have another 8 laps, including this one. That will put... Okay, Nico Schiffer pitted on lap 58. We are now going on to, very shortly, lap number 80. He will be marginal on fuel at best. Marginal, probably maybe a lap in the tank. And if that could be... He could even have 0.2 litres of fuel. But if it gets him across the line, he'll have done it. Nico Schiffer has been absolutely perfect. The only driver, along with Eric Smith, that has done 2 pit stops in this race. And you know what's even funny about this, Sebastian? Eric Smith and Nico Schiffer have shown how economical the 499 Ferrari is. They both pitted on lap 30, then pitted on lap 58. Radecki Gregor's race was going oh so well, but...
Oh no.
He's lost it on the curbing, and here comes the wall. Bang! Rear end rearranged, rear wing off. What a shame. Radecki Gregors, it looks like that damage could be sufficient enough to keep him 10th, but yeah, Nico Schiffer hasn't really put a foot wrong at the moment.
Yeah, in the end, Radecki will now grind his teeth and gears. Yeah, what a shame to ride there over the curb and yeah, finish this race this way, 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. It's yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, this just goes to show how quickly things can change. And I did say about tiredness coming into play, and that's exactly what we've had for Radecki Gregor, who's now been in pit lane for now north of 3 minutes. And we are just under 10 minutes to go. Cameron Brown, well, he is on course. to possibly go for P3. He's got Martin Pearson in front of him. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Cameron Brown, high lick of speed and then just stumbles. That's the problem with the Le Mans chicane.
Yeah, but that's the run for podium. He wants to make it happen, and that's a little bit too on the nose there in the slipstream with the dirty air. But you talked about changes, and I see that Batten is back in the lead, and also Pavlovsky is back in the lead in the GT3s. I wonder how that happened, but must have been some fuel pit stops then.
Yeah.
So he did spin, right, in turn 3?
Yeah.
That was the incident?
Yeah, it was
now
the
he's
incident.
back.
Yeah, now he's back. So, yeah, Bogdan Moldovan, I think. Yeah, Bogdan actually, Trevor went into the pits and he was only in there for about 10 seconds on lap 63. That was his fourth trip, funny enough, fourth trip into the pit lane, apparently, according to the live timing that we have. And Bogdan Moldovan has done 2. Oh, Eric Smith has just had a drama again. And not been his night either. He was running quite well in the race itself. So, yeah, it's just swings and roundabouts here at Daytona. One day it's on your side, one day it isn't. Oh, but oh no, we got an assist, and that was from Daniel Blomqvist.
Well, that's not so good. Also not so good for Mr. Blomqvist. I think there will be some race control issues there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just one of those. It's just one of those things, really, where it can happen. And more to the point, it's just one of those weird things. You just never know what's going to happen. And again, it's just nighttime, tiredness, fatigue, and it's not just physical, folks. It's mental as well. And more to the point, you're just going to have to do the best that you can in that respect, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but we see that some can do the best, and they are in the lead right now. And with, the lucky number 7 is coming up. So, let's put all our thumbs together for those drivers that everyone now finishes in every place without an incident.
Yeah, indeed. But also, with 6 minutes and 50 to go, we're now on to lap 83 of the race. Jesper Eriksson. I'm just going to say something here, folks. Has just done the fastest lap. I think that is his personal best. Nico Schiffer's best lap of the race, 1:29.696. Okay, Nico Schiffer on lap 83, 1 minute 30.735. Jesper Eriksson, 1 minute 29.882. Gap now down to around 3.2 seconds. I'm gonna be. I'm like this. I've got fingers, toes, arms, everything crossed for for what should be a really, really good finish, and there's still an opportunity. We're only 50% of the way through lap 84 of this race, and more to the point that Jesper Eriksson, having one lap where he really was having to deal with a lot of traffic in front of him and lost 1.6 seconds in one lap. And I think if he'd have lost 0.6 on that lap, fine. I think we probably would see Schiffer and Eriksson within the same shot on screen. But because of that 1.6 seconds, that could have been the key lap that put the victory clearly in one hand, with the second hand waiting in the wings for Nico Schiffer. We then go down to Edward Shelley, 8th in LMP2 at the moment, and he's closing in on Ray Partridge in the number 8 car. So that is getting to be even closer. Edward Shelley getting a little bit, let's just say a little bit side to side, so to speak. I think the tail might have been wagging on the dog and lost a little bit of time to him on that point. So, but yeah, that gap's coming down. Oh, 2.2 seconds. 2 seconds. So I'm just going to have a look at some of the sector times. Last sectors. Oh, Jesper Eriksson was half a second quicker in the opening sector. Yeah, I think Jesper Eriksson is... I hate to say this. He's just taken 7/10 out of Nico Schiffer in Sector 4. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we are very shortly going to complete lap 85, and by my provisional calculations, we're going on to 3 laps remaining. So we could be 88 laps completed. Schiffer across the line. Gap now down to 1.2. There's Eriksson. There's Eriksson trying to get through on the number 15 of Alex Smith. And there they are. Line astern. 3.5 minutes to go. Eriksson 9/10 back. Schiffer has got to do something special to keep this young Swede at bay for the W.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, maybe he pushed again a little bit too much. Now fuel is low. Yeah, well, what lap is Schiffer on after his pit stop? Is it again 27 now?
28.
28. Yeah, that's not gonna happen in Splash and Dash, as I assumed.
Yeah, but look at it from this perspective. If Eriksson gets through, you know what Schiffer could do?
Yeah, get some slipstream.
Exactly, which does save fuel. So, folks, this is where it comes down to pace, also bravado, having a big pair of cojones, and that's what Jesper Eriksson's going to be showing right now, because 3/10, and that is closing. That is closing out of the Le Mans chicane. We're going to go on to our penultimate lap of the race. Eriksson just waiting. Eriksson just waiting. Now goes to the outside. And Schiffer defends. Eriksson decided, well, I'm not going to try and do this. So across the line they go now. That is lap 86 in the books. And now round the outside. That was nearly a textbook repeat and a slight stumble. Yeah, I think he just carried the overspeed there into turn 1.
I mean, he's so much faster that won't hold him up, but I could nearly feel that he didn't want to give the slipstream to Schiffer.
No. And yeah, I think the thing is that Schiffer needs to use traffic to his advantage if it comes up very, very clearly. Eriksson through into the double left. A little bit tighter on the apex, but there is a car in front that Schiffer now needs to accelerate towards. Gap is under half a second, and it's going to start closing. And you can see that the slipstream will go into the favour, and that was one of the Corvettes, and now into the Le Mans chicane again, and you can see a lot more speed carried by Nico Schiffer, well, by Jesper Eriksson into that Le Mans chicane.
But because the white flag,
we should be getting we should be getting the white flag this time. And well, both cars, I think, Schiffer has. There we go, and Eriksson goes through.
Yeah.
Oh, Nico Schiffer.
One or two laps short. You can do 29 laps with massive fuel saving, but not 30. That's not a thing.
Yeah. So, Nico Schiffer, well, 3.5 seconds. Well, 3.85 seconds. He's dropped down to second, so it is going to make it. Well, he's dropped to fourth. Luke Burtonshaw is going to be the leading Ferrari, and Nico Schiffer hemorrhaging places, will rejoin in fifth behind Daniel Holmer. So it puts us on to a 1-2 for SimRace Sweden Esports. Final lap has now been declared, and Jesper Eriksson has done exactly what he needed. We could have seen the master of 3000 IQ strats from Nico Schiffer, but the German has been denied. Jesper Eriksson down through into the Le Mans chicane for the final time. The number 36 Acura 06 Type S has been absolute putty in the hands of the number 37 from Sweden. Round the banking and heading into the tri-oval for what will be the final time. This has been a masterclass by SimRace Sweden Esports as Jesper Eriksson goes into the tri-oval. They win round number 1 here at Daytona. And it's going to be a team 1-2 because Oscar Fredriksson in the number 12 now makes his way to the line and takes P2, but it's going to be fractionally ahead by just over half a second. Nico Schiffer is fighting back against Daniel Holmer. And more to the point, Schiffer is going to take 4th place. Eriksson and Fredriksson make it a 1-2 for the team. For SimRace Sweden Esports, Luke Burtonshaw from 11th on the grid to finish 3rd, ahead of Nico Schiffer, who put it on pole, who had to do a splash and dash, and Daniel Holmer rounding out the top 5. But now we concentrate on our LMP2 class leader, Sebastian Carrick. Call this one to the flag, buddy.
Yeah, Garen Batten from the back, back in the lead. And when do you have to be in the lead, like in the GTP in the last lap? And Garen Batten has done it. Another win for him. So let's see what is up for him in a couple of hours, again and again. And there's Trevor Wawrowski.
Trevor Wawrowski takes the win in the GT3 class. Bart Mattia, close, but not quite close enough. Bogdan Moldovan takes 2nd in the GT3 class, ahead of Sergio Abajo. Stefan Jones in the number 578 Dallara LMP2 car is very shortly going to be crossing the line and will take P3 in the LMP2 class. My, oh my, what a race we've had here at the World Centre of Racing for round 1 of the European region of the Major Series for 2025 at the Daytona International Speedway road course. Jesper Eriksson and Oscar Fredriksson, well done. Congratulations to SimRace Sweden Esports with a 1-2. Eriksson wins after 88 laps by nearly 21 seconds ahead of Oscar Fredriksson, with Luke Burtonshaw, Nico Schiffer rounding out 4th, having led and nearly having the perfect 2-stop strategy, but fuel was his biggest adversary, let alone the traffic in front of him. Daniel Holmer brings the final car from SimRace Sweden Esports, one of the other 2 cars into 5th. Daniel Blomqvist 6th, Thomas Coombs 7th, Eric Smith in 8th, with Sigurd Christopher Vamsla, the sole Porsche driver, rounding out the top 9. Then it was Uldis Puteklis for Latvia in the Cadillac that would end up finishing down in 10th. Lasse Deters, Radeki Gregorj was in contention, but unfortunately would retire with damage 9 laps from the end. Francesco Saggetti, Giulio Posilico and Edvin Forslund round out the classification for the GTP class. Turning our attention now to the LMP2 side of things. Garen Batten in the number 61. Well, he won a race yesterday for the international region race last night. He's done it again in the European region, winning by 5 laps from Bart Mattia. Well, actually, I think it was quite a bit of a... It was actually a lot less than the 5 laps indicated on there, but basically 0.2 of a lap separated them. Bart Mattia and Stefan Jones ran at the top 3, with Martin Pearson, Edward Shelley, Cameron Brown, Ray Partridge, Dominic Singendonk, Alex Smith and David H. Baker rounding out the top 10. Tom Guest, Ryan Walker, James Marsden, Yaroslav Roth, Richard Hartley and Travis Walling round out the 16 classified drivers in the LMP2 classification. Then we turn to GT3. Trevor Wawrowski takes the win ahead of Bogdan Moldovan, who was only 2.4 seconds behind after 79 laps completed by our GT3 leaders. Sergio Abajo, was leading, finished, the Spaniard would end up rounding out the top 3. Kevin Hill, Edgaras Staupas, Kostas Koloudis, Claude Belval, Jakub Krafek, Wayne Hutchinson and Charlie Stottard round out the top 10. in the GT3 with Leon Seeley. Shame for Canada's Stephen Verveyen was running quite high, especially in the top three, finished 12th. David Wilson Jr., Sean Roberts and Niklas Schneider. Unfortunately, not making it very far in the race. Well, what can you say about that one? But we've got our first driver to speak to, and representing our GTP and overall race winners for round one of the season from SimRacing Sweden Esports, Jesper Eriksson. God, that was close, wasn't it, Jesper?
Oh yeah, that was super close. I never thought I was gonna get a win, because I thought Nico had saved enough of enough of fuel until the very last lap. I was so close, and he just dove it bits and made me celebrate a bit too early, I think.
I think in some respects, you know, you've got to give Nico credit where credit is due, because both he and Eric Smith showed how fuel efficient the 499 is. I mean, it's quite new to the iRacing service, but I know you guys, I know your team boss. Shout out Dan Pepples, very, very well, good friend of mine. But you guys have used the Acura for quite a time now, and it's a car that you're all very, very familiar with. So using the stopper gave you guys the opportunity to push that a little bit harder, didn't it?
Yeah, it definitely did. Props to Oscar in the beginning, telling us to all pit under the second safety car, which made us ultimately win the race. So I think most of the credit to the victories to Oscar. But yeah, the Nico was so fast. It was quite terrifying how fast the Ferrari is on the straights and the fuel efficiency. Major credits to him too.
I mean, we also give a shout out to our driver that finished in the top three, Luke Burtonshaw. He was very, very quick. I think he was giving you and Oscar, and I think also Daniel Blomqvist, quite a few things to think about during the race, because that car was rapid.
Yeah, it was definitely rapid. Quite terrifyingly rapid, to be honest.
But also, I've got one final question to ask. I mean, we saw some fantastic overtakes, but I think the one that took the wind out of my sails was your round the outside, doing the Slim Shady a la Eminem on Nico going into T1. What was your plan of thinking doing that so early in the race? Because it could have gone all horribly wrong.
Well, I knew that the Ferrari I saw on the practice that he used so much less downforce than us. So my thought was just, if he uses less downforce, I'm just going to use all the track and all of my downforce, just absolutely send it, which worked, happily.
Brilliant. Well, Jesper, congratulations to not just you, but to the entire SimRacing Sweden Esports team. Of course, Oscar finishing P2. I think Daniel Blomqvist finishing 6th. Daniel Holman finishing in P5. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
First of all the sponsors, Mosa, Johan, our team boss, and Dan for just making this all possible. And of course, to all of the teams. Daniel and Oscar and Edwin, and definitely Oscar with the absolutely mega brain for the strategy.
Brilliant. Jesper Eriksson, congratulations. Thanks for talking to us, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And
thanks, boys.
Have a good one. I think, if I remember correctly, you're not doing the 24, but I know you'll be there supporting the team for the first of the big iRacing special events for 2024. So well done today.
Thanks, boys.
So a big thank you there to Jesper Eriksson. But now we have to introduce someone that won not only the LMP2 class today, but also ran the International Region race last night. Welcome back to Victory Lane, Garen Batten. 2 in 2. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. They were very different kinds of races for me. Yeah, I'm now.
I bet. I hate to think what time it is where you are at the moment. It must be probably like early hours of the morning, probably like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that, isn't it?
5:30 Monday morning work day. This will be fun. Yes.
So it's going to be a quick power nap and then in the shower, get ready for work, and then do the daily commute. But yeah, I mean, it was LMP2 was going to be, a very, very close fight. I mean, there were several drivers, yourself, Bart Mattia, Mattia, then also Stefan Jones you were battling with in the dying stages. Firstly, how do you feel? Because obviously, we're talking the time difference over there in Australasia. Then you've got to deal with even more fatigue. So I don't know if in your lunch break you're going to need to have another power nap just to get through the day.
Well, yeah, I've got to back up because I'm the chief race director for the America split in a few hours. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, it feels really good. I mean, it was a very, very different kind of race. So I mean, obviously at that first safety car restart, I mean, there was just carnage everywhere, sort of thing, right? And I could see a whole bunch of stuff going in front of me, and I can't even remember who it was that ran at the back of me, but I sort of don't blame them because I think they might have been a bit blinded to the fact that there was stuff going on in front of us. So I did brake early, and obviously he's cleaned me up. But fortunately, with the second safety car getting called again straight away, and the fact that Major Series has a fast repair, I managed to not lose the lap, and then sitting there behind the safety car at the very back of it, I thought, well, this is a pretty hard track to pass, really, especially in the LMP2 because the toe isn't huge. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to do something different if I'm going to back up the front. So let's see if we can do 24 lap stints, which I'd never done in any sort of practice run or anything. But yeah, managed to do 3 24 lap stints and get it to the end. If a safety car had come out, would have ruined strategy. If the leader had done an extra lap, like the overall leader, I wouldn't have made it. I had 0.6 of a litre left at the line. So tried something different and worked out.
Well, it now shows that perseverance means that you can put your mind to it. And being that marginal on fuel, you're literally on the fumes on the tank, and if the engine had started sputtering a bit earlier, I think you probably would have been like going, right, let's just see how this pans out. But Garen, well done. 2 wins, the international region race, and now European. Congratulations. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Definitely Major's Garage. We not only carry their logos on the car, but it was their setup that has taken me to 2 wins today. So, or the last 2 days, I've got no idea what day it is. So yeah, definitely thanks to them. I want to thank Swoodspeed SimRacing Gloves for their support of not only the Majors Series generally, but also their sponsorship of the Majors Endurance Championship, for which registrations open tomorrow or today, depending on which time zone you're in. And I want to thank you guys, GSRC, for coming on and doing the broadcast today. Obviously, it's great to have the series working with professional broadcasters like yourself. And if I could borrow Sebastian back for Americas for the live admin, please, that would be great.
Yeah, I will be there. Thank you. And congrats, Garrett.
Thanks.
Well done, Garrett Batten. 2 wins in a row, and credits the setup at the Majors Garage. But you know what? I'm going to hand over to Sebastian Holmichel. Sebastian, please have a chat with Trevor Vavrosky, our GT3 class winner here at round 1.
Trevor, great to have you here. What a race it was. And the first question of all, how did it feel to be punted and spun in the first horseshoe?
That was definitely not ideal, given the late nature of the race at that point. Luckily, I still had the fast repair left, and I knew I had a margin on the fuel, so I knew my last stop was going to be quicker, but I didn't know how much. So it was definitely going to be nip and tuck with the 96 there after that. But luckily, was still able to come out in front.
Yeah, I think we stopped about 10 seconds of standing time, and already a good comeback after the spin, of course, being in the lead again and winning. I wondered about the timing screen, and as you said, you were on the edge of your SimRig after that with the pit stop, as you said, not knowing exactly how close it will be. But it was close.
And he had really good pace, and it was honestly, I think kind of some of the race was probably decided really with how the margins worked out on those earlier cautions and coming in and taking that fuel, and I think that really helped me have that little bit of cushion over the rest of the guys, especially Bogdan, because his pace was right there with mine, so it was going to be close.
So did you play with the traffic? Was there a point where you really felt comfy with the traffic coming in from behind, or was it always stressful?
It was definitely stressful at a couple points. Going to the back early on with those cautions and trying to work my way back through the field. Apologies to Jakob on that safety car restart with the weird checkup, and Steven for the incident into the bus stop. It was not clean all the way through, unfortunately, but clean enough and got through the traffic quickly enough for the GT side. And then towards the end of the race, after I'd come out of pits, it was just avoid any and all cars. I knew I had enough cushion, so I could just be as safe as possible.
Yeah, that's always feeling good to give some more room than you want to, but if you have the cushion, of course, it works a little bit better. Yeah, you already told your apologies, and is there somebody else you want to make a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, this is joined Composite part of the way through last year, so huge shout out to them. They've really helped me out, getting me quicker. This is my 99th race in the majors, and this is only my second win, but first with Composite. So that's really cool to have, and all the people over there that support everybody on the team, and to the sponsors, Grid, Sim Labs, TAM Liveries, and then recently we added P1 Docs, for the setup support, and they've been a big help. So using their setups here. So,
yeah, sounds good that you have so many supporters to be here in the majors and taking your second win here tonight at the first race of the season of 2025. Thank you, Trevor, and congratulations again. Have a nice night now with your celebration.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll maybe if I get lucky, I'll see you guys again later tonight in the Americas race. We'll see what happens.
Ooh, I hope I don't see you there as a steward, but yeah.
Thank you guys.
Don't put the frighteners on him just yet, okay? You want to make sure he competes, Sebastian. But Trevor, well done tonight. Congratulations on the W in GT3. Well, that really wraps up the interview part of our post-race show here on the Global Sim Racing channel here on YouTube. And what a race it's been. We had spills and thrills here at round one for the European region of majors for 2025 at the Daytona International Speedway road course. More coming up here on our GSRC. Of course, it's been a busy day. We've had the Classic Lotus Grand Prix, the Sunday Grand Prix Series. Of course, we've got the Porsche's Owner Cup, again, racing at Daytona. And that will be at 3:55 Greenwich Mean Time, or just before 5 to 11 Eastern. Very, very soon. Then we've got Grand Prix Legends on Saturday the 18th and the IMSA Vintage Series racing at Alton Park. Grand Prix Legends will be going to the famed circuit in the former German Democratic Republic, the DDR, the Saxon Ring. This has been a GSRC production through Genesis Extreme. You've joined myself, Alex Goldschmidt, on lead commentary with Sebastian Holmichel alongside me, with our director being Christian Deploy, and cameras provided by Dougie Beard. What a race it's been for the European region season opener here at Daytona for round 1 out of 7. And I bet you there's going to be more to come. Well, race hard and race fair, but like I always say, if in doubt, go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care. Good night.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Anybody really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.